Ah, hello there, and top of the morning to you, Nerd Avengers. Oh, that shit better not be on. That gambling better not be on. Turn it off. Turn it off. What the hell? Yeah, that's right. Sorry, you freaking buttholes. No gambling today. What's up? How's everybody doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to your Monday, baby. I think it's gonna be a pretty good week. No gambling. Bye. See ya. Bye, girl. Bye. See ya. Dark Dragon says, "Yo, what's up, man?" A1FP or A1 Exec FPS says, "For the realm, much love, ladies and gentle nerds. Appreciate the support, brother." And then Rossi, of course, is in with a little rose. What's up, guys? Hope you guys had a good weekend. I was kind of checked out, although we did do a stream Saturday morning, and that was pretty cool. Just went over some of the Deadpool Wolverine spoilers. It was pretty spoilery, and there were a lot of people that thought they'd be chill, and then when they started listening to just how crazy the spoilers were, they dipped out, and that's okay too. But appreciate everybody. And yeah, so I was out in the middle of effing nowhere in West Virginia. Had a bachelor party with a buddy and a bunch of buddies. And so that was good times. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Of course, pretty crazy, unprecedented shit happening over the weekend with a presidential assassination attempt. Absolutely absurd. And look, I don't really have much to say about it. I'm glad that he's okay. I'm glad that that didn't happen. And I hope, here's what I'll say, I guess, before getting too far into the rest of the stuff. Two things. Number one, I'm not really going to comment a lot. Not really going to talk a lot about it. However, we will do a Diamond Lounge stream this Friday. And, I'll give more unfiltered thoughts then and there. So if you are a member, if you've been a member for 6 months, make sure you come on by this Friday evening. We'll do a Diamond Lounge. And the other thing I'll just say is that, continues to be an absolutely absurd fucking time and an absurd situation. I would hope there's like what I hope would happen out of something like this. And then there's the reality of what would happen out of something like this. The hope would, of course, be that we would find some common ground, some common dignity, and just try to pull things together and change the fact that this temperature has been dialed up and that it's just such a divisive, crazy time right now, and we should probably stop doing all that because it leads to things like this. So that's like the hope, and then there's the reality, which is a lot of people are super just still gonna be a butthole. A lot of people not interested in anything like that, and people even offended that you would have a thought like that coming out of a situation like this. So yeah, just basically want no part of that and the whole conversation surrounding it. But I will obviously say I think there's no place for political violence in this country, although this country has been riddled with political violence. I think, too, that the division needs to end, and that if we just keep ramping this division up, things will get much, much worse. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. And this is a channel called The Den of Nerds. So can't really give you too much political insight or, a perspective on all of that. It's obviously a pretty crazy thing. and it'll dominate headlines for probably weeks. I think this week is the RNC as well, right? So this week's the RNC as well. So there'll be a lot of political stuff. And of course, this is an election year. So we'll have even more of all of that to sort of drag down conversations and make everybody really mad at each other leading towards the election. And in all seriousness, I would hope that the sort of really aggressive and really callous thoughts, actions, and speech by people would stop, but I also don't expect it to. So I'm just going to kind of stay in my lane and, kind of try to protect mine and my family and my community and, just try to do what I do. So that's pretty much the extent of what I have to say. Dr. Cool says, the bachelor party was wild when an assassination attempt occurs. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And you definitely knew that when something like that happened, it was just going to totally consume the conversation of like the whole evening and everything like that. So I'm sure that happened with us. That happened probably with a lot of you too. Yeah. Great. People already, trolling and trying to, be pretty awful. So that's to be expected. In all seriousness, it is to be expected. And I think that those among us that have actual character need to try to not fall for the bait, try to not fan the flames, and just be good. You know what I mean? Be good. Practice love. I know that's corny and maybe not what everybody wants to hear, but that's the truth. And I think that there are people among us, and perhaps even more people than ever, that are willing to stand up and just be decent. Just be decent. And a lot of you are incapable of that. And because I am decent, I forgive you. You see how that works? That's what it is, baby. That's what we got going on over here. So other than that, did you guys have a good weekend? Other than that, was it chill? We're still going to talk about dragons. There was a hot D yesterday, and I do want to get into that. I don't have it on the thumbnail. I don't have it in the title, but I do want to talk about it. We'll do all the Marvel stuff first, and then we'll get into the hot D. I feel like that's probably a better way to do it. And, but yeah, I will just say briefly, I thought it was a fantastic episode. Even though it was the kind of episode that, not a lot of action, I felt like it was an appropriate place for that. And after something crazy like what happened in the previous episode happens, you need to sort of take a breath and let your characters resolve those issues. And I also thought what they did with Damon, what they're doing with Damon is quite interesting, adding a really interesting element to, I think, a sort of conflict within a conflict, and that'll be cool. Yeah. The season overall is great. It is great, isn't it? Hell yeah. Work doubles all damn weekend. Oh, I know that game, dude. I used to play that game every weekend. Yep. I used to do my schedule at the restaurant at one time was, I think it was like Friday close, Saturday, Sunday double to close. Holy shit. That was a wild schedule. But then I would get a lot of the week off and be able to work on YouTube stuff. Damon be doing shit to his own mother. Yes, it's quite strange. It's quite strange, is it not? Quite strange. Don't know exactly what's going on with there. Look, a little bit of the Damon stuff is kind of hard for me to accept just because I was talking to Elisa about this yesterday. I was like, dude, he feels like so resolute in certain moments. Like he comes into the castle, he won't even eat dinner because he's so concerned. And now he's literally drinking the Kool-Aid. He's drinking the crazy ass mythological Kool-Aid. Winning races, my man. Hey, my man. Jareth, I'm glad you won. I'm glad you won, man. Homelander as Wolverine. I'm good. I was pretty sure that was his sister-in-law, not his mother. Oh, no, it's his mom. Yeah, that's pretty clear in the episode. Every time I see the 102 runtime and whatnot, I just don't understand why Disney doesn't follow suit. Make your shit an hour long already. You have the capital to do so. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons you want to do that. You know, you want longer episodes because I think it's more of an opportunity to, especially with television, right? Like, television is kind of like a conversation rather than a statement. And I think the longer episodes allow you to play with themes, have character moments. Like, that's the beauty, right? If you were just thinking, okay, Doctor Doom, are we going to do a Doctor Doom movie? Or are we going to do a Doctor Doom streaming show? The obvious benefit to the show is it's more time. And you have more time to get into the character, to explore things via the lens of the character. So that's the obvious benefit. So having a longer episode length helps with that as well. And the other thing too is with the way that Nielsen and, you know, a lot of these companies, the charting is a big deal. It's like the new metric for success. Well, the longer your episodes are, the better chance you have at charting because it's based on minutes watched usually. So it is quite strange that especially with Acolyte, which to me seemed like a show they really wanted to succeed. Yeah, it's wild that they don't have longer episodes. It's kind of crazy. Locationary says, was there anything decent that came from the recent Disney Slack leaks? Not that I've seen. Now, again, I was kind of checked out over the weekend, right? Chilling with the homies. But if there was something major, it would have come out, I think. From what it's probably the case that the person that hacked it either has it and is trying to negotiate, or they don't really have it, or they have it and they're afraid to release it because they feel like Disney's going to come after them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. F you too, bro. They send me Nerdvenger notifications. I don't know what that means, but welcome. Welcome. Probably why they launched the double episode on Disney Plus. Yeah, you would think so. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Watching reviews of The Acolyte is more fun than watching The Acolyte. I agree. I agree with that. Or they have it and they don't like Marvel or Star Wars. Wait, what? Or they have it and they don't like Marvel or Star Wars. Well, yeah, but if they don't like it, wouldn't they just leak everything? Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Haviz says, why can't Star Wars be good production? I can feel the limits of KK Lucasfilm on everything except Andor. Star Wars should just be big in epic and production. Yeah, I mean, I look, I agree with you. You won't get me disagreeing with that. I think that is definitely an issue. Cap 4 going to need more reshoots now? I know, dude. So I saw that. I think Jareth was talking about it on Twitter. And because if you don't know, right, Marvel has gotten kind of unlucky, particularly with around, Sam Wilson and Captain America. The original version of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the LLC for that movie was Pandemic Productions, LLC. And the entire show, and this is, by the way, in Joanna Robinson's Reign of the MCU book. She outlines it in great detail. The show had a plot of a pandemic. So then, like, a real one popped off, and they were like, fuck, we can't do that. So they reshot the show. It's why the show's garbage, actually, because they just leave this, like, bare bones, very paper-thin plot in place and just removed all the shit. Big part of why that show sucks. But the point is, now, right, presidential assassination attempt, they literally show Isaiah Bradley shooting at President Harrison Ford. It's pretty wild. I don't think they're going to reshoot at this point, though. They just kind of go with it, you know? Ty Harding says, humble brag, this Nerdvenger is the newest member of the U.S. Kung Fu team. Are you serious? Competing in China next year as a part of the World Games, Nerdvengers for life. Dude, that is incredible, bro. Share some more stuff with us about that on the Discord so that we can root for you, brother. And that's awesome, man. What is it, like a point karate? I don't know what Kung Fu, what is the Kung Fu team? Is it a point system? I don't really know. Kyber Smith says, how was your trip, bro? It was good. It was good. I will tell you though, man, there were all sorts of things I was maybe going to say that I'm not going to say now because of, what happened with Trump and everything. But so here, I'll tell you it like this. We like 50 minutes away from the destination, according to the GPS. 50 minutes away in the middle of West Virginia. We go on back roads, according to Google. And, brother, I didn't have signal on my phone. I didn't have internet on my phone for like about an hour of driving to get to this place. It was so completely isolated that it was weird. It was a bit weird. You know what I mean? To get out there and then be like, dude, I literally, not within an hour of this location did I have actual signal on my phone. That's insane. Like, I didn't even know there were places like that in America. Probably shouldn't be a thing, but it is. So it was cool, though. You know, I kind of came late, but we played a bunch of games, had, you know, drinks, smokes, and chilled. Looking at the phone while driving is sinful. Oh, I know. I taped mine onto the windshield, actually. Inside of the windshield. That way, like, I don't have to take my eyes off the road as much. And if I just duct tape the phone right on the windshield. You know, sometimes I'll just, like, tape it in front of me. You know, like, get some kind of, like, rig and then just tape it right in front of my face. Delta Dan says, have you watched the House of the Dragons build? Disney should be taking notes on how to spend money. How is Acolyte and Hot D around the same budget? Yeah, well, the management over at Lucasfilm is garbage. And the management for House of the Dragon is not. You know, George, Ryan, and a lot of the people that are, you know, producing that show, much better at producing shows. That's the answer. Wolf, appreciate the 10 spot, brother. Says, I feel like Star Wars needs a break. I know I'm not the only one who doesn't really care about any of it. The last show I watched as Ahsoka, and that was pretty much just because of Anakin and Thrawn. Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I got to be honest here. I don't know how or why we're talking about Star Wars, but hey, I understand. You know, people are very upset about the current state of Star Wars. Acolyte is not even close to the show it should have been. And yeah, Star Wars is whack, but can we just it's dead. You know, like I'm not trying to be rude or whatever, but Star Wars it's dead. So I think what we should do and what you should do as a Star Wars fan is acknowledge that it is dead and never bring it up here again. So, you know, we'll see how we do. Hey, Josh. Was just wondering, what do you think of season 4 of The Boys so far? For me, it's pretty mid as compared to the other ones. Yeah, dude, it is. I mean, we didn't really talk about it too much. I know everybody's like, I can't believe it. Okay, so we didn't really talk too much about The Boys last week because I had that migraine on Friday. But The Boys has fallen way the fuck off. I don't know. What did you guys think? What do you guys think of The Boys so far? Let's talk about The Boys a little bit. Then I want to get into some Marvel news. Okay? What do you all think of The Boys, man? Boring. Which is the best? Limp Bizkit, Creed, or Nickelback? Dude, Creed. 100% Creed. Weak. The Noir shit is cool. I don't want Star Wars for at least 5 years. Okay. Easily the worst season. Yeah, doesn't it feel like so fucking bad? I'm sorry, man. And I was trying to like ride with the show. And it's not all because of not really being able to look at Starfire or whatever, Starlight anymore. It's not all because of that. I almost feel like every way a show can get off the rails, every single way shows begin to fall apart, jump the shark, etc., has all happened simultaneously with this show. This is the worst season so far of The Boys, and it's not even close. And it's funny because not only is it the worst season, it's the worst season at the worst possible time. Even last season was kind of shaky, but the way in which it ends was kind of lit. And then you're like, oh shit, the ramifications of that are crazy. No, they aren't. Homelander's trial was a footnote. Like, everything feels so goddamn ridiculous this season. All of the characters have arced out, so they're now going back on their arcs. I've lost the plot for... It just feels super contrived. It feels like it's a parody of itself. Like next to nothing is working for me in this season of The Boys. So I don't know, bro. It's pretty bad. Now, ironically, apparently it's blowing up. Like, you know, I didn't watch I think Grace did a video kind of breaking down the charts between Acolyte, Hot D, and The Boys. And from what I understand, The Boys is like, it came out super hot for season 4. So The Boys is like, it's doing well as far as views. But I just got to tell you, like, as a fan, man, this shit is so bad, I think. Last episode was amazing. I felt nothing. I felt nothing during that last episode, dude. Like, I'm just sitting there like, Like, you know, this is really what it feels like. This is what it feels like to me. In the same way that The Boys makes, like, parodies as far as, like, with the movies, right? It's like Girls Get It Done and shit like that. That's what The Boys feels like to me now. Like, A-Train and Mother's Milk, like, bonding and then, like, nodding to each other after coming into that fight. It's like, it feels like Dudes Get It Done. Like, it feels like a parody. It feels like the parody that it is trying to have fun with. And I just don't feel anything with this show anymore. That's where I'm at. Now, I'm still going to watch the finale because I think it's just one more left, right? At this point. So we're going to watch, we'll watch it, and I want to watch the next season. It's very good that it's ending in the next season because this show does not have a rudder at all, and it just needs to end. So hopefully they do something with the last episode, and hopefully they do something with the next season because I'm pretty much fucking over it, dude. I'm pretty much over it. Sir Louis Brick says, 15 months, baby! Hot D is building up. What makes it good is the creator being involved. Marvel still has hope. Star Wars is dead. Unity, baby! Oh, hell yeah, brother. I agree with that. I agree with that. UIJ Xander says, you don't like edgy stuff. And to be honest, I think you're tweaking, in my opinion. Also, Hot D owed 5 sucked D. Okay, right on. Right on. George R.R. Martin is not that involved in Hot D. Oh, really? You don't think so? Because I actually disagree with that, brother. I think that he's pretty involved. I think he's pretty involved. In fact, I would argue a lot of the decisions, like even bringing Ryan on and not, going with Dan and Dave, I think going away from Miguel, I think a lot of these decisions go through George. I mean, what else is he doing? He sure ain't writing those books. Not the way he's been writing on blogs where he's like, okay, cool, that's interesting. Can you send me a link to that? I'll check it out. I mean, look, it doesn't happen often, but I could be wrong. Wolf says, sick of seeing Homelander perpetually crack for 2 whole seasons. Brother, it's been like the whole show. Like, literally, a couple of times a season, they do that thing where it's like, oh, he's losing it. It's like, this motherfucker's been losing it the whole time. I just can't believe that these things are actually pushing him further. Like, it's gotten to the point where it's like, it feels gimmicky. Dodds says, 40 months. Josh, have you checked out The Bear at all? This new season is peak, but Hot D rules. I have not watched The Bear, mostly because I did 12 years in the restaurant industry. And so I don't want to have server dreams anymore. Like I used to have server dreams. And if you've ever been a server or a waiter, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like your section's full and you're in the weeds and that's the dream, right? And so, look, I understand that the Bear's probably really good, but it's I don't have to. I've lived that. You know what I mean? Like I lived that shit. So yeah, streamer dreams sounds like oh, dude, they're the worst. They are the worst, bro. And that level of anxiety is like kind of hard for people to understand. Look, maybe that's why people like the show, because the show's like, yo, this is what this shit is like. But yeah, I'm good. Although I've been thinking about checking it out because I think Elisa needs to see it. She needs to see what that shit was like and why I am the way I am, at least partially. Locationary, thanks for the 10 spot, brother. Says one thing Daredevil did well was the plot surrounding the hand, bringing the supernatural themes to Marvel TV. Marvel films don't really focus on this. Do you think we'll see the hand again in the MCU? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And I think just in general, and this is a great segue into the sort of Marvel conversation. I think in general, Marvel, and specifically Marvel Studios, has kind of realized in the past couple of years that like the stuff that works for Marvel as a brand should not be rejected by Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios needs to embrace the stuff that works. So there's a lot of evidence showing that like Marvel's going back to that. And in that sense, I think the hand is an important part of that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the hand more active, maybe even in some of the movies over the next couple of years, maybe in some of the shows. For sure. For sure. Why are they releasing Agatha and Ironheart then, Josh? Well, because I think they view those projects, and it's similar to the way they view Echo, right? Like, it's not like this, bro. It's not like they're all sitting back there thinking, oh, Agatha's going to set the world on fire. Maybe at one time they thought that. But I don't think they are actively sitting there being like, oh, dude, Agatha's going to set the world on fire. No, but Agatha's a show that they already paid for. It was created at a time when the mindset took a lot of the audience for granted. I agree with that. That's how I feel. But they already paid for it, and it will satisfy some people. You know those people. You know those people. They'll be in the comments under my tweets. They'll probably still come into this stream and be like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I thought Agatha was great. Like Adam from Fanjecture. You know, those people exist. So there's still going to be people that watch it. And that, like, let's be honest, they don't have fucking standards, bro. They don't have standards. You know, they're just looking for faces moving and moving images so that they can sit on the couch and half pay attention as they scroll through Twitter. Like, let's just be real. And ironically, Echo made up 11% of all the watch time on Disney Plus in the first quarter of this year. Like, think about that, bro. Like, think about that. So what I'm saying to you is, if you think the narrative is that Marvel Studios doesn't realize what's going on and therefore they're releasing Agatha, you're wrong. That's not what's happening. It's more like they know what's going on, but when it comes to Agatha, they have sort of an awkward decision. They're making a decision which I don't agree with, but I do understand. Hello? Yeah, does that make sense? Does that kind of break it down for you like a fraction? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some Marvel news. I do want to say, though, we're going to draw for the GameStop gift card this week. I think we'll do that on, I think we're going to do it on Friday. Okay, we are driving for memberships right now. We are at 1453, 72% of the way to our 2,000 membership goal, and I appreciate all the support. It's crazy. I think we will actually make it this month, and that's awesome. So we'll add another streaming day to the schedule next month. We'll add another $200 GameStop gift card to the month. I'm going to try to do something on Twitch tomorrow. I don't really know what, but I'd like to do some Twitch stuff. Maybe even watch, like, Deadpool, bro. Like, I just want to kick it and hang out with the Twitch Avengers, you know, try to get some more members over there so we can kind of build up the numbers. And, you know, look, we're 2 weeks away from what I strongly feel will be the craziest fucking weekend that Marvel fans have had in a long, long time. Now, obviously, we have some Star Wars fans in here that continue to ask questions about that dead horse. But a lot of us are just more Marvel fans, okay? And Marvel has been the reason that a lot of us have come together. And Marvel has obviously not had the best couple of years. This is a big, big moment at San Diego Comic-Con, which, by the way, was confirmed that the Hall H presentation will be Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be live probably like 8:15, 8:30 that night. I might stream all day too, but that's because of Marvel Rivals and that beta starting up again. So maybe we'll be doing some Marvel Rivals around that time too. But the main stream, dude, not this Saturday, next Saturday, around 8 p.m., you're going to want to be here. That's usually the biggest stream of the year. Okay, so we'll have thousands of Marvel fans in here. We'll be chilling, checking out all the announcements as they come out of Hall H and, come out on social media. And it's going to be a big, big deal. And because that is happening, right now, there's just rampant speculation. A lot of insiders teasing stuff, trying to play coy about this, that, second, and the third. And look, man, I really think shit's about to change in a big, big way. That's mostly what I want to talk about today in today's stream. Because some of the stuff that's being leaked out there, some of the rumors that are happening right now are wild. And I want to talk about them. I want to speculate about them. And I definitely want to know what you guys think about them too. Now, I have a big video that's being worked on right now. By the way, super cool video should drop later today. That's actually about the new X-Men comic book that just came out. And I'm kind of looking at that comic through the lens of they want to do this stuff in the MCU, right? And look, we've talked a lot about this, but Kevin Feige and Dan Buckley, they were the people that basically ended the Krakoa era early or abruptly, and they wanted this X-Men reboot in the comics. And that is clearly because they want to set a connection between the X-Men comics and what they are doing in the MCU. So that video will drop later today. That video is dope. I'll probably have another video for you tomorrow that goes into a lot of detail about some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, but in a more like edited, concise way, because I think Avengers vs. X-Men is basically going to be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. Half of me, part of me, thinks that it might even be Avengers 5, which is crazy. But yeah, so look out for those. And this time right now, in these weeks leading up to these announcements, it's going to get wild. Like, I'm sure more stuff will begin to leak out. I'm sure more people will be talking about it. And we'll be speculating about this kind of stuff as well. Okay? So, I probably don't have to... I guess I should turn this up so that we hear Rossi's... whatever he said. What'd you even say? I didn't even see what you said. And UFOs? 100%. 100%. Come on. Where's the stupid talk to text thing? It's not going to do it? Oh, well. Tim Davis, first of all, says, Josh, my girlfriend and I saw Long Legs. Heard it was good from everyone, but I feel it didn't match the hype. Are we going crazy? Or do we have pre-Pandy standards? Oh, I couldn't really say, man. I don't really know too much about Long Legs. I don't really know what... I gotta be honest, I don't even know what that is. But, yes. Rossi says, I always knew I couldn't be a server. 1, I'm dyslexic. I'd fuck up orders. 2, I'm an asshole. I don't have the hospitality to deal with rude customers. Props to anyone who's worked in the industry. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you. It was fucking something. I'll tell you that. Okay. So, chat. Let's pay attention. Let's set the stage here. Okay. So we're 2 weeks away from San Diego Comic-Con. We're at a state where Marvel Studios has a lot to prove. One of the things we're going to talk about in just a little bit is an article on thestreamer.com. These guys are pretty good, man. These guys are pretty reliable. And one of the things they said, and I believe this, is do you guys remember that, I think it was Variety or maybe the Deadline article? Let me see. I gotta find this for you. Yep, Deadline. Here. Wait, what? Oh, they might have the wrong article. Okay, wrong article. Sorry, give me 1 second here. What? What the hell? I swear I saw that it was in a response, basically, to that article that happened last year. Or 2 years ago. Maybe I'm in the wrong article. Following the 2022 presentation, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so I saw in this article, and I can't find it right now, which is kind of awkward, but they were talking about how basically one of their sources had said that this entire presentation was essentially a rebuttal to the articles that had come out in 2022. This was around the time that Daredevil was going back for reshoots, right? So if you remember, big crazy article made super big waves. A lot of stuff was in this article. Some stuff that people rejected, some stuff that people thought was hilarious but couldn't possibly be true. This was the article in which they talked about Mahershala Ali's Blade being about strong women and Blade being like a fourth lead in that movie. This was the article that talked about how Marvel Studios was considering bringing back the OG Avengers and a lot of stuff like that, right? So I mean, that article exists because things have been really bad. And I think a lot of us have been wondering, what exactly are these changes? What exactly are they going to say to us, the fans, when San Diego is coming out? Because that's the biggest stage with the biggest microphone to be able to signal the changes that are coming. Okay. So, a couple of interesting things broke over the weekend, and I would love to get your take on it, okay? Number one. According to Nexus Point News, Michael Waldron is not writing Avengers 5 anymore. Okay, so, yeah, gotta know your thoughts on that, man. Gotta know your thoughts on that. Michael Waldron no longer doing Avengers 5. Yep. And by the way, Alex Perez quote tweeted that and said, yup, and basically confirmed it. Okay, Parker Thwip says, bought a house and finally moved my family out of LA. Dude, good for you. Been MIA for a while, but finally caught up on the stream. Psyched for Deadpool / Comic-Con stream. Hell yeah, brother. I'm excited to have you there. I'm excited. Okay, so let's dig into this, man. Let's get into everybody's reaction here, okay? Daredevil budget estimate, 250 to 300. I'm not actually sure. What? That's a bummer. Haunted Autumn says, praise Marvel Jesus, he gone. Yeah, so some people really don't like Michael Waldron. They don't like the Rick and Morty, vibes. So yeah, that's to be expected. Josh, do you ever think there will be a time where you check out of Marvel like most of us have Star Wars? I mean, it's possible. I don't really think about it though. Probably because he wrote a 2-part Secret Wars. Ooh, so that's interesting. So, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think what you might be implying is that he's off Avengers 5 because Avengers 5 isn't even Avengers 5 anymore? Is that what you're saying? He could have just finished his treatment of it. Yeah, so the article mentions that there is another writer being brought in. The article mentions that Michael Waldron, is still writing Secret Wars. So this could be like the Blade thing. And what I mean by the Blade thing was like, there were all these reports that the writer of the Blade movie had been fired. And like, oh shit, here we go again. Like they're losing another writer. But that's not what happened. That guy finished his draft. His draft was to take Blade from being a movie that was a period piece with all the strong women, and basically got rid of all that. And now it's in the present, and there's just a couple strong women. So that's what he was doing. Then they moved him onto Midnight Suns. So they brought in somebody to punch up the story that he had already done. It was initially reported as like a very negative thing, but it's in the reality, it's not. So that could be what's happening here, right? So Waldron, because remember, guys, and dude, the context on this is so wild, right? But you've got Avengers 5 originally wasn't even going to be written at all by Michael Waldron. Michael Waldron was writing Secret Wars. So like, I continue to tell you guys, and I continue to believe that it's really a reverse engineered way to get to Secret Wars. This whole phase and potentially a lot of the problems with Marvel over the past couple of years is because Feige had one plan and it was Secret Wars and it was lit, and then he needed to reverse engineer how to get there. Michael Waldron is brought in initially as the guy to write Secret Wars. Now, it wasn't until Jeff Loveness gets the boot, which was also correlated to Jonathan Majors being, you know, tried and then convicted. And so you saw around that time that Loveness no longer on it, and Waldron had been brought on. Okay, so Waldron had been doing drafts for, at this point, over a year of Avengers 5, right? But then the question is like, okay, so now if he's off it, does that mean that he did some work and now he's got to go tighten up Secret Wars, because that's really what matters? They can bring in another writer to kind of tweak Avengers 5. That's potentially what's going on. What do you guys think? I don't even care. God damn it. Why? Every time I see an Acolyte or a Star Wars thing in the chat, I'm just like, why, guys? Like, why? Maybe the Russo bros are taking over. Ooh. Okay, look. I would love that. I would love that. And then all of a sudden it's Marcus and McFeely and the Russo brothers for Avengers 5. To me, that's a W. I don't think that happened. Yeah, I don't think that happened. For whatever reason, Feige seems hell-bent on not going back to the Russo brothers. I think it was Snyder or somebody else that said the Russos pitched something for Avengers 5 and Marvel rejected it. Yeah. And I think there's beef there. I don't fully understand it. I don't know like everything that's going on, but that's just what I've been told. It's like there's some beef there and they're not going to be on the project. I would love it though. I would love it. And if Marvel's really just committed to making this shit as hyped up for the fans as possible, they would just bring the Russos back. No brainer. No brainer. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Okay. Now, according to another article, that movie, Avengers 5, has a director. Okay. So there's a couple of different options here. And one option is that they're just going to do Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2. But Avengers 5 is interesting because like you've got people like Daniel that have been reporting that it's still going to shoot. It's going to be like 60 plus characters. That was backed up by Snyder. So there's at the very least still an intact plan for Avengers 5, which seems to involve the draft that Waldron did, but potentially a new writer, a new director, and new villains, right? So it is possible that that movie is still happening and that it's going to be announced, okay? But let me get a little conspiratorial on you here, okay? Let me get a little conspiratorial. It is also possible that Avengers 5, or rather the next Avengers movie, has been changed completely. And maybe if it is Avengers vs. X-Men, Waldron is now writing Secret Wars, and he's actually taking his draft for Avengers 5 and adapting it for potentially Secret Wars Part 1. And then he's also going to do a Secret Wars Part 2. Okay, now let's talk about this. Let's talk about X-Men. Like, what's the deal? Why is this even something that people are talking about? Well, around the time when Jonathan Majors was sentenced and Marvel dropped his ass like real fucking quick. Like you guys remember, I'm sure. Around that time, there were a lot of questions about what the potential plan was for Avengers 5, for the villains, etc., etc. One of the things, and you got to give credit to Alex Perez and the people at the Cosmic Circus, they were essentially one of the lone voices out there talking about how it was possible Marvel was going to pivot to X-Men early. Like, even faster than they were going to. And I recall an article where Alex even said, you could get Avengers vs. X-Men before Secret Wars. Okay. Now, to add another little layer to this that makes it like kind of interesting. We heard, I believe it was from Jeff Snyder, that Sean Levy turned down Avengers 5. Okay. Now, that the streamer, which we talked about this a little bit ago. Let me see if I can pull this up, dude. This is crazy. That outlet had reported that Sean Levy has been offered the director position for multiple projects. This includes Armor Wars, Avengers Secret Wars, Avengers vs. X-Men, and the untitled X-Men reboot. So, a couple of things that are interesting about this. I mean, first of all, they must fucking love Sean Levy, and they must love Deadpool and Wolverine. That's great. That feels awesome. That feels, you know, like we're about to watch the movie. That feels great, right? But isn't it strange that Levy has been offered Secret Wars, which is supposed to be filled with Fox X-Men, Avengers vs. X-Men, which would obviously be filled with X-Men, the literal untitled X-Men reboot, and then like randomly he's offered Armor Wars as well, which is probably just because RDJ's coming back and maybe like he would be open to that then. This also indicates that these are very important movies for Marvel Studios. Armor Wars likely important because they will probably bring back Robert Downey Jr. via that film. That's why it changed from a show to a movie. Probably, maybe. We're speculating. Secret Wars, obviously super fucking big deal. Avengers vs. X-Men. So wait a minute. By the streamer talking about this, and also Alex was teasing this over the weekend as well, and Alex seemed really excited that he had been one of the first people to talk about Avengers vs. X-Men, and he's still talking about it. And I think the reason he's excited is because, you know, very early scoop, he kind of put some stuff together, put it out there, and I think it is indeed going to be true. So that's wild. So you have all kinds of scoopers acknowledging that Avengers vs. X-Men is a very real thing. We technically know more about Avengers vs. X-Men than we do about Avengers 5. We don't know what Avengers 5 is. We know more about Avengers vs. X-Men. Mostly because it's like, I mean, you're just lining them up. And also, we've got that Fox X-Men universe that's established at the end of the Marvels. That's obviously a thing that they've built up and that they want to pay off, right? And then you've got the untitled X-Men reboot. Well, dude, I gotta say, just by way of this being the list that Marvel offered Sean Levy, you can kind of glean that they're going hard on fucking X-Men, and they're going hard on X-Men fast. The other thing that's kind of interesting here is that there's no mention of Avengers 5. Now, we can go into the article and we can kind of try to see for sure what they're talking about. But I find it interesting that we know from other reporters that he had been offered Avengers 5, and yet this is the list that the streamer puts out. And you're like, look, that's crazy. Avengers 5 is not on that list. Except that maybe it is. And maybe Avengers vs. X-Men is Avengers 5. Because if you think about it, if Waldron's no longer on it, if they're going hard on X-Men, if Levy was offered Avengers vs. X-Men, There's all this mystery about what's about to happen with San Diego Comic-Con. Okay? I'm just reading the tea leaves here, and I'm like, oh my God. Bro, they might go all in on X-Men, kind of ignoring Kang, ignoring, 616 Avengers in a lot of ways, because this really does seem to be where their focus is at. And I just find it interesting that some pretty reliable people are talking about Avengers vs. X-Men in the same sentence as Avengers Secret Wars 2 weeks before we find out the details of Marvel's new strategy for the next couple of years. Okay. So, inevitable questions come with this. Inevitable questions. How the hell, let's address this question. How the hell could Avengers 5 become Avengers vs. X-Men? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody? So I think the answer is obvious. You replace the initial conflict, which was, originally it was going to be against the Avengers and the Council of Kangs. It's somewhat changed according to Daniel and the reports that he's been talking about. It's become an ensemble movie with 60 plus characters. Guys, it's really simple. You've got an Avenger now in that universe of X-Men. You have the multiverse collapsing. Super simple. All of a sudden, there's an incursion between these two Earths that's starting. And in the backdrop of that, there's also this plan with maybe multiversal Avengers, possibly other things that Beyonder Kang is doing. And so at the core of your conflict, you have the Avengers and the X-Men fighting to save their Earths while also setting up this big multiversal conflict. That feels like the obvious move for me. And on top of that, from Marvel's producing perspective and just from the business perspective, if what you want is to just inject hype and get the next couple of years of Marvel to be absolutely fucking nuts, dude, you do Avengers vs. X-Men and you absolutely bring back RDJ and Steve Rogers, who, spoiler alert, Chris Evans is about to hang out with Wolverine and Deadpool in that movie. It's obvious. You bring them back as variants, and they have to help the 616 Avengers fight against the X-Men for something big. So I think it's actually a pretty simple thing to make. Now, it is possible they do Avengers 5 and then they do Avengers vs. X-Men. Maybe, you could do that. My honest opinion here is fucking why? Because that first Avengers movie feels like a lame duck movie. But this could also be the reason that Sean's not doing Avengers 5. Because maybe they're like, hey, we got Avengers 5, but we also offer you Avengers vs. X-Men. And he's like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, oh, okay, well, maybe, I'll do that one instead. So it is possible that you get Avengers 5, then you get Avengers vs. X-Men. Maybe you also get Doctor Strange 3, because there's a lot of rumors that Doctor Strange 3 is going to be super important, and it's going to lead right into Secret Wars, right? So maybe get Avengers 5. That ends with the OGs coming back. Then you get Avengers vs. X-Men, which has the OGs fighting against the X-Men, and then there's multiversal implications. Then you get Doctor Strange 3, which is the Black Priest and, crazy Game of Worlds type stuff, right? And then you go right into Avengers Secret Wars, which could be one part, it could be two parts. So, and Levy ain't doing a Star Wars movie? Well, here's what I'll say about that. It is, of course, possible that Sean turns down all of these movies and he decides to do Star Wars. But that does not mean that they are not offering him these movies. And that is actually what's important to the conversation we're having. That's a side question, is like, is Sean not just going to go do Star Wars? He might. But that's not necessarily relevant. We're talking about what's Marvel's plan. You see what I'm saying? And the fact that Sean just did this Deadpool movie, and the fact that Sean is so hot right now, he's like Hansel, so hot right now, that speaks to these offers being very important to Marvel. Right? Not to say that other stuff's not interesting. It's like, okay, but yeah, maybe he goes and does Star Wars. Maybe that's true. But Marvel's still going to do all this shit. They just might not do it with Levy. Of course, I personally think Sean should tell Kathleen Kennedy, thank you, but no thank you. And should continue to make stuff over at the House of Ideas, because Star Wars is a graveyard. But that's just me. It's kind of my feelings on it. You know, fair point and fair question. Okay. So, that's kind of the buzz. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to read in this article by the streamer, and we could discuss what they are speculating for all of the different announcements for San Diego Comic-Con. And I think even more stuff is going to be coming out. And so we'll have even more stuff to kind of dig into and try to explain. Let me catch up on a few chats here, and then we'll read this article, okay? Does that sound okay? I see you have a sword in the background. We should talk. Oh, shit. Okay. Yo, send me a DM. Send me a DM on Twitter, man. I like swords. I like swords. I think swords are tight. Sorry, I was just testing something. Okay. Wolf says, Deadpool and Wolverine, if good, will get the normies back on the train. So hyped that I'm staying away from leaks. So I'll dip whenever that starts. Hey, no problem, brother. No problem. Again, Parker Thwips. Glad to hear that, buddy. Chillin' says, what's up, Papa Josh in chat? Only 2 more months till 2 years of Nerdvention. I really hope the Avengers vs. X-Men pans out. That would be bleeding epic. Marvel is on the comeback, baby. No Avengers for life, take my money, unity. Dude, I totally agree. And I think this is, like, I think we're kind of seeing, and again, I think more stuff's going to come out. I think, dude, people are not going to be able to keep their mouths shut. This shit is going to come out. I think a lot of people know Marvel's going all in on the mutants and the X-Men. I think it's a good plan. It's maybe their only plan. And so I think it's great. It's weird how well a lot of this stuff lined up for them, considering that, 97 worked. Deadpool and Wolverine looks incredible. And now they can just be like, yeah, let's do more of that, right? So that's good. Rossi says, didn't you say last week that Levy was going to do Star Wars? Yeah, that's what was reported last week. Location says, I'm still confused about how time-traveling Steve Rogers is involved. Well, yeah, I mean, that's because we don't know. But I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to be involved, and I think that him being on that time platform is the sort of story device that'll get him and get him on Battleworld. I don't know the logistics, but I'm pretty sure that is how it's going to go. Okay, so what I want to do now, I want to go through this article on the streamer. And let me... Okay, so let's check this out. Marvel Studios sets SDCC 2024 Hall H panel. Here's what to expect. Marvel Studios will return to Hall H once more, as reported exclusively by Deadline. And don't forget, Nerdvengers, your boy was telling you they're going way before Deadline said that. I told you it was going to happen. This marks the first time in 2 years that the mega studio will appear at the convention. Though last year, the con took place in the heat of the Hollywood labor strike, so it's understandable why they didn't attend. Since then, the studio has undergone several significant changes. Yeah, I'll say. Lot of changes. Changes. Sorry, I just wanted to pull the chat over here so I can see you guys try to annoy me while I read this. In October of last year, Marvel changed its approach to serialized projects, meaning a total redo of Daredevil Born Again, which slashed the episode count from 18 to 9 for its first season. The second season will begin shooting later this year, ahead of the 2025 debut for season 1. It also separated out its overall offering into 4 sub-labels: Marvel Studios, Marvel Television, Marvel Animation, and Marvel Spotlight. Interesting. Following the 2022 presentation, it was reported that Destin Daniel Cretton would direct the then-titled Avengers Kang Dynasty. However, Marvel fired Jonathan Majors in December of last year, quietly unnamed the 5th Avengers movie, and it was also reported that Destin Daniel Cretton would no longer direct the movie, instead choosing to focus on the sequel to 2021's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. He also has another project for Marvel, which is currently in post-production, the Marvel Spotlight series Wonder Man. Ick. Given that Marvel Animation will have a full panel at Disney D23 Expo, we don't expect to see a lot of movement from that brand at Comic-Con. Instead, Marvel will use the time to bring the multiverse saga into greater focus, simplifying some of the projects and giving fans a clearer idea of what to expect over the next few years. While I did hear a while back that Marvel will not do seemingly cursed slate reveal, as is tradition by now, that may have changed. Ooh, so that was a while ago. Okay, here we go. Am I the only person excited for Wonder Man? No, there's people that are probably excited for it. And it's all good if you are excited for it, man. No big deal. I just think ick. Captain America, Brave New World. What to expect? Given that Marvel debuted the trailer for the movie, the footage will be shown exclusively for attendees and will not be released widely. That's possible. It is possible that you'll just get like a little sizzler reel for the people in the room. Probably likely. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think the reason they did the trailer already, number one, yes, they wanted to play in front of Deadpool. Number two, they don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this movie, dude. Marvel wants to, I mean, they've been talking about Brave New World for like 5 years. They want to talk about X-Men. They want to talk about hype shit. They don't really want to spend a lot of time on that, in my opinion. Thunderbolts. What to expect? It's likely we'll get an official teaser poster released wide, with lucky SDCC attendants getting to see the first footage from the movie. Reporting from the convention will also provide confirmation on casting. Yeah, I agree with that. They'll probably show some scenes, maybe a sizzler reel. Likely won't come out. Maybe we'll get like leaked footage of it online. We'll see it come out on Twitter. But yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds reasonable. The Fantastic Four. What to expect? Kevin Feige confirmed the film will be shooting on July 29th, 2 days after the SDCC panel in London. It's very likely that fans should expect to see the four heroes, played by, you know, all of them, in costume. Whether it's in person or via a polished screen test remains to be seen. But Marvel Studios will no doubt want to promote its most anticipated movie of 2025. I agree with this, and I actually would take it further. I think you'll get very brief Captain America stuff. I think you'll get very brief Thunderbolt stuff. I think Fantastic Four will be a somewhat of a focus for the studio. We've already seen that in the surrounding area of the convention, there are Fantastic Four banners. They have the Future Foundation attached to them. So I think you might get either the whole cast brought out on stage, and that might include the actual casting of Doctor Doom, which will set the internet on fire. I think you might even get some concept work. I think you're going to get a big tease and a lot of emphasis on the Fantastic Four. That is what I think. So I think even more than what they predict. Blade. This movie is cursed. Expect nothing. Given that Blade has gone through 2 directors and at least 5 screenwriters, various casting and story changes, it's still on the slate. There are 2 options here. 1, there's a director announcement. Expect a new release date. Blah, blah, blah. If there's no director announcement, expect a new release date announced and a general time frame. At this point, fans would take Mahershala showing up and holding a sign that, yes, it's still happening. Yeah. So let's talk about that. I actually think that they will say that Blade is still happening, and they might potentially link it to the Midnight Suns. I think it's possible that they come out and they say something cheeky, and then they maybe even bring Mahershala out. And then they say, you know what? We're making Blade. We're really happy with it. We know it's taken some time, but we're making Blade. Oh, and by the way, Blade will also be joining the Midnight Suns. Kind of like taking lemons and making lemonade. I feel like that might be what they do. Okay. Doctor Strange 3. What to expect? Benedict Cumberbatch is Marvel Studios' loyalist soldier. That's actually true. That's actually true. He's like all in and wants to keep doing it for a long, long time. So it's kind of awesome. He also confirmed that he'll be shooting an Avengers movie in 2025. But what of that post-credit scene for Multiverse Madness? While it wouldn't be the first time a Doctor Strange post-credit scene went nowhere, that's true, the chatter is that his movie is essential viewing for the 5th Avengers outing. Yeah, so I actually think that movie will come out before Avengers 5. And that means that this movie is probably being streamlined. That's what I think. So I think you get a big tease of Doctor Strange 3. That's what I think. Shang-Chi 2 literally calls itself The Wreckage of Time here. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's the real title. Destin Daniel Cretton will be directing the upcoming film, which stars Simu Liu in the titular role. The name of it was revealed ahead of Marvel Studios previews. Oh, wow. And at the trademark office. Okay, so that's real. It's likely that we'll get an official title and a logo reveal from Kevin Feige. Yes, I agree with this. Is Thunderbolts and Cap 4 the same kind of movie? I mean, they're similar. I don't know if they're the same. We'll have to see. We haven't got a lot revealed officially about Thunderbolts, so it's kind of hard to say. Titular? Hell yeah, nailed it. Okay. So, let me just say, and they're going to talk about this in a second, if it is true that we are going to get Shang-Chi 2 and Doctor Strange 3 before Avengers 5, then I think Avengers 5 has to be delayed. Now, the current reports from Daniel is that it's not going to be delayed. That's the reports from him. A lot of these scoopers have been getting a lot of stuff wrong lately, but I think that's more because Marvel's changing so much, right? But if those movies really are going to come out before Avengers 5, I think Avengers 5 gets delayed. Yeah. So maybe this is like the sort of build. But again, if they delay it, I think they need a little something extra. So that's where like the X-Men stuff comes in. But let's keep going here. Okay, says right here, Avengers 5, which is currently slated for May 1st, 2026, right? So even if that got delayed to like the end of 2026, that might be the way to do. That might be the way to do it. We know that Michael Waldron, who wrote Loki and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, has penned the script for this movie. You should expect to see a director announcement as the seat has been filled. Ooh, so there is a director for Avengers 5. Interesting. As well as a new title for the movie. Oh, bro. This might be the most anticipated thing. What is the title of Avengers 5? What do you guys think it is? Let's stop for a second. What do you guys think the title of Avengers 5 is? Time runs out. Incredible title. Incredible. Eternity Wars. That could be, and that's incredible. Doom Dynasty. Oh my God. Let's go. That would be sick, dude. They should just call it like Doom the Goon. Secret Wars? What? AVX. Yeah, dude. I kind of think that could happen. Yes. Avengers saves the MCU. Bold title. No Time to Die. Bold title. A Morb in Time. Okay. Avengers 5. We need more money. You're not wrong. Young Avengers. Bro, I will stop the stream. I will fucking stop the stream if they do that next week. What did I miss? That it's not Secret Wars. Oh, I mean, it could be, but Secret Wars is currently Avengers 6, bro. Avengers 5 reassembled. Okay, so I think it's either... I like Time Runs Out. I like... I like Avengers vs. X-Men, dude. It's either Time Runs Out. It could be Avengers Forever. Avengers 5. It's just a map. Wait, when is SDCC? So it's not this Saturday. It's next Saturday evening. That'll be the Marvel panel. A5. Stinky Little Pinky. Oh, shit. Super Secret Doom Wars Forever. Hell yeah. It's a great title. Great title. Yeah, I hope it's Avengers vs. X-Men. Fuck it, dude. Do that. Okay, so they say here, expect a release date change for this. Yeah, I could believe that. It was recently reported by Deadline that Sean Levy has been offered the chair, but I can confirm that he has also been offered to helm other projects, at least one of which is listed below. Okay, so that's where he goes into the other ones. Okay, so Armor Wars. The film, which started life out as a 6-episode series for Disney Plus, has been in almost 4-year period of development hell. Yes, here, Lester is still writing the movie. Given that he had a film debut at Sundance earlier this year, could he also be on directing duties? I'm not holding my breath on anything related to this movie being pushed forward at Comic-Con. Wow, okay. Well, then it can't really be Armor Wars. That's crazy. They can't have offered him Armor Wars if they're not going to... All right, anyway. Untitled X-Men movie. Interesting here. As of now, we know that Michael Leslie will be penning the script for the MCU's first real foray into mutants. It may be too early for a director to be announced, but that hasn't previously stopped Marvel from announcing a release date. Additionally, it may be the case of a trade, either a THR or Deadline, getting the exclusive following the convention. That could be interesting. Yeah. Okay. So they don't really say much about that, but I do believe that's one of the movies that was offered to Sean Levy. Avengers Secret Wars, which is currently supposed to come out May 1st, 2027. They better pick a date and stick to it, because we're going to have a big screening together when Secret Wars comes out. And I got to know when that is. Michael Waldron has written the script for this one as well. And to put it bluntly, this movie is in the ether. Some reliable rumors suggest it may be split into a part 1 and a part 2, while others suggest it may be pushed down the release schedule because new Avengers movie will take its place and release date. Expect a release date change for this one. That is quite interesting, man. That's quite interesting. So they're basically implying here that things are really up in the air for Secret Wars. It could be a part 1 and a part 2. It could be pushed down the release schedule and a different event. Like, what if instead of Secret Wars, we get Avengers vs. X-Men and Secret Wars gets pushed like pretty far away? I don't know how I would feel about that. Yeah, I don't know about that one, bro. But these are the big questions, man. This is what we need to know. Other Marvel Studios projects. There are a great many movies whose prospects have fans foaming at the mouth. They include Midnight Suns, Young Avengers. Wait, what? What? A Scarlet Witch movie and Avengers vs. X-Men. While some of those may be announced, my understanding is that this presentation is more of a direct response to the variety piece that went out last year. Okay, yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier. This article, which kind of shit all over Marvel, right? It was a crazy article, dude. So many people lost their fucking minds when this article came out. So this presentation, which is happening in a couple weeks, this presentation is more of a direct response to the variety piece that went out last year. That piece, echoing a growing grumble, described chaos at Marvel Studios, unfocused leadership, and a slate of projects built around a villain whose actor was walking his way onto Hollywood blacklist. While most of that was verifiably false, yeah, I don't know about that, brother. It did cause Marvel to pause. Soon after, Disney chief Bob Iger revealed a soft mandate of no more than 3 movies a year. Whether there is any truth to these projects is something that remains to be seen. So temper expectations. Okay. So let's stop for a second here. Another reason that I think this particular presentation might just go all in on the X-Men has to do with comments made by Bob Iger. Bob Iger has been talking a lot about Marvel Studios over this year. He has not really talked about Star Wars because it's dead. But he continues to talk about Marvel because it's not dead, and there's still a lot of Marvel fans. One of the things he said was that he didn't want to go too far into spoilers, but Marvel Studios was going to be focusing more on its stronger franchises. Do you guys remember when he made that comment? I kind of feel, and I've kind of felt for some time, that what's really going on behind the scenes at Marvel is that they're like, fuck all this, let's go X-Men. Because that's actually like a smart move. Meaning, like, yes, we have a lot of these other things going on, but as quickly as possible, you need to start injecting the X-Men and the mutants into all of this. And, dude, that would be absolutely a brilliant move, and something that I hope is announced and focused on at the San Diego Comic-Con announcement, right? So who knows, dude? Things could get really crazy. This is like a really interesting time as we get to that. Okay, now, as far as the television, I hope they save all of this for D23 because I do not care. Agatha, it should be canceled. Daredevil, super dope, but, you know, whatever. Wonder Man should be canceled. Ironheart should be canceled. Vision series should be canceled. Like, literally nothing interesting or compelling other than Daredevil for television. So if I was Marvel, if you're really trying to turn this shit around, I wouldn't even bring that shit up. I'll just focus on your movies, focus on the slate, and never bring up Ironheart again. But we'll see. You know, it's possible they still want to talk about that and do all of that. But my gut tells me they've got an hour-long presentation. They've got a lot they want to show, a lot they want to talk about. I would focus on the movies. I would focus on the movies, and I would put up some X-Men movies, start to get people excited. And yeah, dude, we'll see, guys. We'll see. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about some of those predictions? And what do you guys expect to see? Shows at D23? Yeah, that'd be the way to do it. Could Avengers vs. X-Men center around young mutant puts Carol Danvers in a coma, steals her powers, make the Avengers see it as an attack, and the X-Men are trying to protect Rogue? I don't know. I mean, something like that could happen. It would be kind of interesting, though, with Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, because Miss Marvel is a mutant, And so what if there's something there and there's some kinship there that she feels towards the X-Men, but she's also technically an Avenger or a young Avenger with Carol? Like, that could be kind of interesting, but honestly, I don't give a shit about that. Just do, like, the X-Men and just bring back the Avengers that people actually like Steve and Tony, and just fucking make some entertaining shit, man. And I'm so over it. You know, something else that was kind of interesting, guys, was this weekend I got to talk to a lot of normies, you know, about Marvel and you know, all this. Guys, you think we are having a bad time? A lot of these people are just totally over it. Like, I was talking to one of my best buddies about Marvel, man. And we were talking about, like, Wakanda Forever. And I was like, yeah, Wakanda Forever's, like, okay. He was like, dude, I thought it was trash. And I was just like, damn. For a lot of the normies, it kind of stops at, like, is this awesome? Is this wish fulfillment? Is this really cool Marvel? Like, they're not there to analyze and to be like, well, I understand that they're doing this and that. They're like, no, like, this is lame. I don't like these characters. Where the fuck is T'Challa? And I'm just out. And I think Marvel needs to realize that you know, just there's too much girl power. There's too much stupid loose threads that don't make any sense. You need to recapture the normie audience, and a lot of the normie audiences, they do not give a shit about a lot of that. They just want cool superhero shit. So I'm hoping that we get a little bit more of a return to form to just cool superhero shit. And that would be great. Like, that would be fantastic. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, most people aren't going to go talk about it extensively online. They're just going to, like, not see the next one. Which I think you also see kind of bared out in a lot of the numbers. Wakanda Forever has an A cinema score and made a profit. That's more anecdotal. Yeah, of course. I mean, the point's anecdotal, but also I think if you're just talking about Marvel as a whole, it's an important distinction. Like, it's important to realize that a lot of, like, normie people that aren't, like, super actively engaged in this fandom, they're not going to keep watching and complaining the way a lot of us do. That's the point I'm trying to make, is a lot of us complain, but we are still there. It's like, look, I complain about the Marvels, but I was there day one, first showing. But that movie made less than the first Captain America movie. And I think that's a pretty clear data point to be like, okay, something changed. Something didn't connect in the same way. And if you just look at Marvel's trajectory overall, although there are a few high moments, overall the trajectory is going down. And so I would say that they do need to think about that. They do need to make some changes like that. It's your job. I didn't go see the Marvels. Yeah, I mean, look, it's obvious a lot of people did not go see the Marvels. It's the biggest bomb in the history of Hollywood. You don't get that without expectations and reality being very far apart. Because why would you spend that much money? The only reason you spend the money you did on the Marvels is because you think there is an audience lying in wait to watch it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Agree, because my wife doesn't care nearly as much as she used to. Yeah, I mean, I think that's in the data. And the way the analytical, or rather the anecdotal point kind of matches with the data is like, you just talk to people and realize, okay, that is potentially in mass what is happening. You know? But before we get into House of the Dragon, which, like, I'm down to, like, break it down like we usually do. We could also just watch somebody else's breakdown video and kind of just talk about it together. I'm down with either one of those. I did want to talk a little bit more about the Captain America trailer. We didn't get to really talk about it because I had a migraine and everybody was like, "It's just a map. It's just a map, Josh. You're fucking wrong," you know? So, going back to that, what did you guys think of the trailer? What do you think of the movie? You think it's a W? Are you liking it? You excited for Captain America? It's just a migraine. Kaylin says Cap 4 needs Hulk versus Red Hulk. Yeah, I think you might. I think you might get that. Yeah. It does look good. Yeah, it looks fun. Looks cool. It was just a trailer. Oh, man, totally. Good take. Great take. Marvel has always talked about the future or current events. I don't know what that means. Seeing Red Hulk in the trailer is pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Another anecdotal, sorry, Alita, but another anecdotal thing was I showed my buddy that hadn't seen the trailer, and he got really hyped when he saw Red Hulk. So, I mean, look, Red Hulk might be the thing, might be the juice. It's a map of all the location they fought at. So that spot in the map in France was the location of the airport from Civil War II. Okay. Did other people confirm that those are Tony Stark symbols? I haven't watched other people's videos and stuff because, like, I'm the best. But did anybody else confirm that? Looks good to me. I still don't think Sam is a good lead, but I'm excited to see Red Hulk. Yeah, dude. I mean, a lot of my normie friends were also like, bro, Sam as Cap is just whatever. It looked okay. I just don't care about Sam as Cap. Same. Not a single one. So you're saying I'm the best because I pointed it out and I figured that out? Avengers 5, Tony Stark symbols confirmed. Hell yeah, bro. Hey, the tracking website has Cap as very high, and that was before the trailer. Normies are excited about Cap 4. That's great. I hope that movie crushes, dude. Like, there's a lot I'm looking for from that movie as a fan. Like, I just want to have, like, a great fucking time, dude. Like, I just want to have a great time. The action's intriguing. The character moments are cool. You know, Sam's being heroic. Red Hulk beating a bunch of ass. Like, dude, there's a lot of things that could potentially be great. And I also think it needs to be a movie that sort of sells the whole fandom on Cap, Sam as Cap, Sam as a leader of the Avengers. So it's got a lot of heavy lifting to do. But if all goes well with that, that would be great. That would be great. Most of my friends are excited for Red Hulk only. I mean, I am definitely more excited for Red Hulk than Sam Wilson as Cap. That's for sure. I gotta hope they will do Sam justice, but if not, they need to pivot back to Steve somehow. Yeah. Well, that's the other interesting thing, right? I mean, Steve's coming back either way. And so it's so, like, at the end of the day, guys, I'm not, like, intrinsically upset at an idea of Sam Wilson as Cap. What I'm more upset about is Marvel Studios making that call and then not backing it up with good content. Like, Falcon and Winter Soldier is a terrible show. There's some parts of it that are cool, but it's terrible. The switch up they've made with him just, like, wanting to not be Steve and stuff, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And so it's not, like, our fault as fans that Marvel kind of fumbled Sam Cap, because they did. They fumbled it. We're now 5 years removed from Endgame, and Steve's about to come back, and we don't even know why we should give a fuck about Sam. You know what I mean? That's not on me. That's not on you. And I think most of us would be open to Sam being fucking awesome. I mean, Sam was awesome when he was with Steve. You know, they spent like 2 years running around looking for Winter Soldier and stuff. Like, dude, that's a great bromance. Like, that shit was awesome. So, like, I guess for me, it's like, I know this stuff can get political, and some people will just, like, outright reject Sam as Cap because, you know, he's not Steve, and they view his appointment as, like, DEI and all this other stuff. Like, I'm not there. I just think it's probably the case of a company kind of being lazy. Like, it's super easy for a company to be like, oh, we're going to do this because of the optics. It's way fucking harder to be like, oh, well, we want something accomplished that's good optics, but we also need it to feel earned. So we're going to do the work to develop this character properly. And that I just don't see. I mean, literally do not see it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, it's more like Marvel failed him rather than the fans. But I'm open to this movie doing some heavy lifting for that character and my feelings towards him. But I'm also, I don't feel guilty or have, like, viewership and fandom is not charity. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here to be fucking charitable to these characters based on some quality, whether it's their sex or their gender or their sexual orientation. Like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Is the character interesting? Am I compelled? Like, these are the questions, you know? So at the end of the day, like, the Sam Wilson Cap thing is like, the jury's out. But also Marvel put that jury on recess for 5 fucking years. So that's not my fault. You know what I mean? Rossi says, I feel like Becky should have been the next Cap. Yeah, dude, Becky would have been a great Cap. But then you get the gender bend, you know what I mean, and all that. So it's like, without the serum, you just can't throw the shield fast enough to do any real damage. It's not believable. I mean, he probably could if he used, like, the wings and some momentum and shit. You know? But, yeah, generally, you're probably right, yeah. Killing Betty means nothing. He likes Natasha now. Lame. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I fuck with Anthony Mackie, but agreed. Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is, bro. By the way, saying I'd prefer for you and other YouTubers to be real. World War II, first Captain America comic, hit Hitler, X-Men, representation, people among the 60s, 70s, civil rights moment, alienated by... Okay. Hey, William, appreciate the 10 spot, brother. Thank you, man. Says, what up, Josh? My aunt gave me 3 big boxes of old comics. Captain America, Thor, and Batman. All unopened in their sleeves. Any advice what to do and how to check their value? 7 months. Twitch venging. Hey, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for the Twitch venging. Thank you for the support. Look, your best option is going to be to either go to a shop and have them do an appraisal, or find a comic book fan that you know that you're friends with, and get them to do an appraisal. That's kind of the way. I mean, you could do it online yourself, but that's going to be a lot of cross-referencing. If you're not a comic book person, you might make a mistake. I would get a professional. Rossi says, sorry, Bucky, Marvel invested more time into him. Yes, more than Becky, for sure. You know, Becky would have been a great pick, too. So, it's all good. I get you. But Carl, Cap, hearts, and character is superpower. Oh, yeah, his patriotism is his superpower. Did I watch Twisted Metal? I have not watched Twisted Metal. Was it sick? Was it pretty good? You can get those comics rated, but it could get expensive. True. I would just get somebody to look at them first. Give you an appraisal. Pick out which ones to try to do that and all that. Comic book shop is bad advice. They won't be honest. You know, it depends on the shop. I knew a shop that, like, they would be honest, man. You know, they're not going to try to jerk you around. They'll be like, okay, well, these are pretty decent. These are pretty decent. You know, this isn't really worth much, but, you know, maybe get a second opinion. Floris Isons, welcome to the Nerd Vengers, baby. Woo! Hell yeah, Floris. Welcome to the team. You've picked a good time to become a Nerd Venger. We're about to drop some dope merch. Get you 20% off the merch. This Wednesday, we're going to continue deep diving into Deadpool stories. You come on by for that. Incredible time. Caden, says the issue is Marvel needs guaranteed wins. The super nerds will continue to watch, but they need the casual audience back in the theater. No Avengers for life. I agree with you. And that's why I think you got to go with some big, heavy-hitting, strong franchises like Bob Iger said. So, hell yeah. I hope so. Send comic book grading company. Yeah, but I mean, what is he going to get? What if they're all from the dollar bin? You know, we don't even know if these are valuable. Get somebody to take a look at it. Who's your favorite non-Steve Cap in comics? Who's the member of the Guardians of the Galaxy that has Cap's shield from the far future? What's that guy's name? Because that dude is tight. I mean, Bucky Cap's cool. Sam Cap is pretty lame. I'm gonna be honest. Like, there's not really good. There's very little I've read of Sam Cap that I thought was good. From the old Guardians? Yeah, but he's from the future. I forget his name. Let's see. No, not Red Guardian. I forget his name. Major Victory. I think that's it. Yeah, Major Victory. This dude's fucking awesome, dude. Major Victory. In Earth 691, Major Victory acted on a rumor that the legend to find the shield, which he used as a symbol to rally the warring people of Earth as they were freed from the conquering Badoon in the 31st century. Yeah, so he's from the 31st century. Pretty cool looking dude, though. Check this out, chat. I'll show you. That's Major Victory. I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on, bro. Why isn't he Cap, you know? Shit. Shit. The Cap shield makes him look cool? No, he looks cool. And he also happens that... I'm never sharing stuff with you ever again. He looks like Blue Superman. You look like Blue Superman. How about that? There's only one Captain America? Bro, I'll tell you this. I find Peggy Carter as Captain Britain more compelling than Sam Wilson as Cap. You can never have too many shiny, naked Marvel heroes. Exactly, Adam. Now we're talking. Secret Empire Cap would be so cool. True. True. Nah, that was such a cool design. Give me Space Spider-Man vibes. Exactly. Don't you guys want to fuck with Major Victory? I mean, come on, man. Bucky is my favorite Cap for sure. Yeah, Bucky Cap was cool. Yeah. Crazy take? Oh, well, maybe I'm just the crazy take guy, huh? Maybe I am the crazy take guy. Okay, chat, what do we want to do? We want to just watch Paul's breakdown? I could do a breakdown. Or we could just watch Paul's and then I could critique and correct him every couple of seconds, you know? That'd be pretty chill. Well, the final episode of The Boys predictions this week. Predictions. I think Homelander is going to start to go crazy. That's about it. That's all I got. Also, I'm doing a water fast today, guys. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. Chad, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. Drink water? I should. You're right. You're right. You're right. All right, let's watch some Paul from Heavy Spoilers. Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers
Show. I'm your host, Paul, and in this video, we're breaking down House of the Dragon.
Also, I can't believe Paul said he was going to vote for Trump. I mean, he can't even vote, you know? It's just wild. What a bold and unnecessary thing for him to say. But, you know, to each their own.
The trailer for Season 2, Episode 6 is now out, and the seeds of the future are falling into place. Throughout this video, we're going to break it all down and go through what's likely going to happen in the episode. Obviously,
the trailer? We're talking about practice? Okay, we got to watch this.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Paul, and in this video, we're breaking down House of the Dragon.
You know, as soon as it cuts off camera, he's just like giving this face like, you know, like don't be fooled, you know, like he looks very happy there. It looks like it's all good. I'm telling you, man, as soon as that camera's off, he's like, these motherfuckers, they better get me on trending again. These cocksuckers, you know, anyway.
Season 2, Episode 5 is now here, and throughout this video, we're going to be breaking it all down. This video is going to be filled with what happens in the episode, along with what also happens in the book. So come with me as we talk about the aftermath of Rook's Rest and what the characters are going through. As always, we'll save future spoilers until the end of the video, and I'll give you a heads up before we get to that point. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoy it, and make sure you subscribe for our breakdowns every week. With out of the way, huge thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into it.
Dude, look at these, dude, his Funko game is kind of unbelievable. Look at these things with the he's got Hulk busting out of the thing. They never even did that in the movie. And then he's got the, oh my god. Hey, Lamb Chop, welcome to the Nerd Avengers, baby. You are a Nerd Avenger now.
House of the Dragon.
Was it worth the price?
Now, we begin at Driftmark and can hear echoes of Rhaenys's theme in the score. Cutting to Corlys inside of the castle, the characters shown from the back. Seeing characters like this is something that we get a lot of in this episode, with it also being shown in Aemond and Alicent. The first of these comes when he stands staring at the throne at the end, with it mirroring the shot of Corlys looking at his. With Alicent, we see she approaches Aegon being worked on by the Maesters, and all these shots echo each other. They clearly highlight the game.
I kind of thought it was going to be a little bit more brutal. Like when they show Aegon, like, you know, it's a little jarring and everything, but they were really teasing it out. I wanted it to look horrifying.
And losses that have come from the Battle of Rook's Rest, with both Aegon and Rhaenys being two characters that went toe-to-toe. Both came out the other side a little worse for wear, and it was a big defeat on both sides. I said big defeat, Laris, but not defeat. Put your cock away.
Oh, shit. He was all about it, right? And Allison's learning a very important lesson in this episode that all OnlyFans girls need to learn.
Aegon's still alive, he's never gonna fight again, and his dragon Sunfire's out the fight too.
I'm
the
never
only one
gonna
who's
fight
really gained anything is
again.
Aemond, with him truly playing the Game of Thrones.
My brother burned me.
Either way, the guys...
Where's the new Nerd Avengers merch? You communist, says Rossi. We're working on it this week.
Clearly not having a good time, and echoing his despair, we also see Rhaenyra shares the same sentiment. The quest for the throne is causing Westeros to rot, which we saw metaphorically with Viserys in Season 1. Cut by the Iron Throne, he developed a disease that caused his body...
Oh man, this It's like all of us surviving the 2024 election here. We're all Viserys now.
To rot away and die. It's been all
I
about
feel like I'm rotting away and dying.
getting that spot, which has now caused this gigantic war. Cutting to the market at King's Landing, we now see how this is extended to the fruit there, with it also rotting away. Meleese's rotting head is carried through the streets, and we need a seed of hope. That, of course...
What did you guys think of that particular scene? Because they're taking the dragon head through, and like it felt like the show was almost a little heavy-handed with how they were trying to show that like the crowd wasn't with them. You've got some people saying that's a bad omen. You got this other person saying, Ray Neal will answer this. And then even Christian Cole's like, do they not know we won the battle? And the other dude's like, yeah, it's a weird battle, bro. What did you guys think? You thought it was the weakest of the season? Wow. Josh, does anything make you happy anymore? Dude, I tell you, the only thing that brings my heart of coal any kind of joy is when people like you ask that question. You know, the sort of snarky, like, oh, you don't like anything, like that attitude. It's the best. Thank you.
Comes at the end with the dragon seeds, with them being something that can provide a new avenue. We've met some of these throughout the season before, and in our spoiler section, I'll go into more detail. Now, Meleese's head getting paraded through the streets of King's Landing is also something we hear about in the work. This also chronicles...
Oh, and Warhammer. That's true. I do love Warhammer.
The aftermath of Rook's Rest, and how many lost their lives. 800 knights and squires and common men lost their lives that day as well. Another 100 perished not long after, when Prince Aemon and Sir Criston Cole took Rook's Rest and put its garrison to death. Lord Staunton's head...
dude, Paul, the book was upside... You don't even read, bro.
...was carried back to King's Landing and mounted above the old gate. But it was the head of the dragon Meleese, drawn through the city on a cart, that awed the crowds of small...
Oh, he flipped it. Now it's back. Right.
Spoke into silence. Septon Eustace tells us that thousands left King's Landing afterwards, until the Dowager Queen Alicent ordered the city goats closed and barred. Now, this parading of a head is done for a number of reasons, and it's once more used as propaganda. Similar to how Jaehaerys was marched through the streets,
True.
we also have Meleese on the back of a cart. It's supposed to show strength in the Greens, and they'll parade their wins and losses for their own political gains.
True.
Jaehaerys was done to get sympathy,
like, if nah, it's too soon. I can't make those jokes. Okay.
This was done to show power. In truth, though, Aegon's being moved through silently and hidden away from public view. The Greens want to make it seem like they're in power, and I love how these two...
This is just too good. Phantom says, your comments and body language makes me wonder about you sometimes. I know for a short time you felt burned out. Well, I appreciate the thoughts. Thanks for spending so much time thinking about me and my body language. And then Justin says, I eat poop. Awesome.
Two scenes mirror each other.
Good
this
time
also mirrors
on the
Jaehaerys
internet
as well,
today.
Both lost their head.
I thought the dragons was gods.
Now, beyond that, the dragons were supposed to be respected, with them being beautiful beasts thought to be gods. This is something Jace touches upon later on, with it being thought...
I thought dragons were gods. Somebody says that
only
too.
the Targaryens can
Holy
ride it.
shit, this video's 40 minutes. Let's get to the fucking point, Paul.
Dragon. This is because they carry something known as the blood of the dragon. Thus, bastards, shout out to Robert Baratheon, they're people who are also thought can ride the beasts while keeping the illusion that only certain people can do it. It's purposely been brought in to keep the peasants in their place and give the belief that the dragon riders are gods. Hugh Hammer being here is also very important, and we'll talk about him more later in the spoiler section. Now, parading dragons through the streets like this is sort of showing their hand, and we see from the reactions that people start to question their invincibility. Maegor didn't respect them, and he was ousted, and it shows the Greens don't respect history. Beyond this, though, it also highlights how the realm's fallen into disarray. The White Cloaks, they're having a laugh, mate. Break.
Paul's very detailed. He was holding the book upside down, Aaliyah. Don't fall for this act. Paul's very detailed.
Their oaths and broken hymens, and they don't carry honor. Everyone, take that comment back, yeah? That was a bit too far even for my sense of humor, so apologies for that. Yeah, I've let everyone down, and I'm kind of getting sucked into the kingdom myself, and just being a right dickhead that nobody likes. Everyone's just kind of slacking.
Yeah, like did you watch the last 15 seconds there, Aaliyah? Yeah, very detailed.
This further highlights how far the realm has fallen, and this channel.
That was a great zoom. You do love food according to your body language. You motherfucker.
Now, my Doria later brings up how this is perceived as an ill omen, and if the dragons and Targaryens can fall, then it heightens their feelings of instability. You also see how the soldiers aren't regarded as heroes, with it being akin to things like Vietnam. Though people fought for their country, it was seen as a controversial war, and thus the return home wasn't really a celebration. This is something
That's what Rambo's about, and that shit is lit.
Remarks at, and it's clearly drawing real-world parallels. Also, you might notice that they're saying Aegon slay the beast when the guy's plan was a little half-baked. Eh? Like him. Hey. You can kind of see how the lie doesn't necessarily set that well.
Not bad, Paul. Very thorough.
Doing it to hide away the truth. We also march past the rotting rat catchers who've got worse and worse every time we've seen them. I kind of think this highlights the mood of the people and how they feel about what the war has brung. Though Aegon managed to get revenge on Cheese, he did this by harming a multitude of innocents. It's sort of like how the wars cost people so much, and very symbolic on a number of different levels. See, mate, you thought I was reaching with that rot comment, but Maylee's rotting away with the flies around her. It's very, very clever. Now, from here, we cut to a symbolic shot of Alicent and Aemon looking down on the proceedings. Larys warned Aegon the pair would take rule if he went to war.
Bro, she knew, man. She knows that Aemon fucked him up. Like, she can just feel it. I loved that scene.
Oh, and this has been the outcome of it. Alicent clearly wants to be included, but as we see later on, that doesn't happen. However, these two figures standing there and being the ones who want power, looking over the keep and the dead dragons, it carries a lot of symbolism. Now, as for Aegon, I feel like we have to talk about the way he was found in order to discuss the full extent of what happened to him. This comes in the aftermath of the battle in which Aegon and Rhaenys were found on the ground. Those closest to the dragons did not live to tell the tale. Those farther off could not see for the flame and smoke. It was hours before the fires gutted out, but from those ashes only Vhagar rose unharmed. Meleys was dead, broken by the fall and ripped to pieces upon the ground.
Oh no!
And Sunfire, that splendid golden beast, had one wing half torn from his body, whilst his royal rider had suffered broken ribs, a broken hip, and burns that covered half his body. His left arm was the worst. The dragon flame had burned so hot that the king's armor had melted into his flesh. Which is exactly what we see when they're peeling it off him. As for Aegon, upon his return to King's Landing, the work says, King Aegon II did not die, though his burns brought him such pain that some say he prayed for death. Carried back to King's Landing in a closed litter to hide the extent of his injuries, his grace did not rise from his bed for the rest of the year.
Damn!
Septons prayed for him. Maesters attended him with potions.
Dude, I feel like I wish I could just not rise out of bed for the rest of the year, dude. You know? Wake me up in 2025.
And milk of the poppy, but Aegon slept 9 hours out of every 10, waking on.
Have I seen the new Deadpool and Wolverine trailer? There's a bunch of like TV spots and stuff, so I probably saw it. What was in it?
Long enough to take some meager nourishment before he slept again. None was allowed to disturb his rest, save his mother, the Queen Dowager, and his hand, Sir Criston Cole. His wife never so much as made the attempt. So lost was Helena in her own grief and madness. Now, they do alter this for the show, as we have Helena looking at the litter without being
Magneto,
too broken up about it. In fact, when we look at the work, she's going in a drastically different direction.
Oh, the ketchup and mustard one?
So grief-stricken.
That was really good and really clever. Yeah, dude, I actually thought that was really smart. That was cool.
By the death of Jaehaerys that she wouldn't bathe, eat, or hit the thumbs up. The show version is a complete opposite, with her not being like that. Now, I do wonder if it's the major change in Blood and Cheese that's taken the character in a brand new direction. In the work, she chose her son Maelor to die, and Blood and Cheese beheaded Jaehaerys to taunt her. Thus, she went insane, thinking that he might be aware that he'd been chosen to die. So they changed things up majorly for Aegon, and we see he's hidden away and attended by several maesters. He didn't take the Battle of Rook's Rest seriously and was drinking and laughing before he and Sunfire headed out. On the other side of this, Rhaenys and Meleys clearly knew there was a chance they might not come back, and yeah, for Aegon it was basically around and find out. Now we also see Aegon the Conqueror's sword Blackfire lifted out the litter, with this highlighting what he was trying to be. In the end, though, he turned out to be more like his dad, bedbound and blood oozing out the sores on his skin. We get a brilliant shot at the end with him in his bed, wrapped in bandages. That's almost shot exactly the same as how Viserys was portrayed. The wounds have swapped sides with Aegon, though, and it's a perfect mirror from that scene in Season 1. Even Alicent's there at his bedside, but he meant Aegon the Conqueror, love, not this one. I love the way they play Operation with him, and Aemon smugly looks over. You've got some nerve, mate. Got some nerve showing your face round here. Aemon taking over the rule of the realm in his brother's stead is something he brings up. Well, he suggests, and later on at the council, we see this come to pass.
Oh, he's all about it.
Says, "You must rule the realm now until your brother is strong enough to take the crown again." The king's hand told Prince Aemond. Nor did Sir Criston need to say it twice, writes Eustace. And so one-eyed Aemon the Kinslayer took up the iron and ruby crown of Aegon the Conqueror. It looks better on me than it ever did on him, the prince proclaimed.
Oh shit, he should have said that.
Not assume the style of king, but named himself only protector of the realm and prince regent. Sir Criston Cole remained hand of the king. Now, Aemon being after the throne is something we've seen throughout the series, and this goes all the way back to Driftmark. There he told Aegon...
I don't know. He's just got red lighting in there.
He'd wed his sister Helena if it was his duty. At the coronation, we saw him staring at his brother with envy as he was crowned, and we had everything going down at Rook's Rest last week. He burned his brother and even went to slay him before his hand was stayed by Criston Cole. When he picked up the cat's paw dagger, we also saw him pointing it at him. I don't think Aemon has any love for his brother, and the Greens are sort of in their own little civil war. The infighting is something that's mirrored in the Blacks, as we have Daemon there who might want to take power from Rhaenyra. Here, though, it's on the surface, with Aegon ousting Otto and Alicent from the council. Aemon's now put his brother in harm's way, and he has a clear route to the throne. I love how it all plays upon the idea of a civil war, as we have brother versus brother. This is something that Eric and Eric showcased as well, and it all ties into the main themes of the show. It also makes him the perfect opposite to Daemon, as Daemon's clearly wanting control as well. Both believe they're better leaders, but they were both passed over for their brothers. Both are ruthless and willing to make the hard choice, but because of this, they're also pretty cruel. Aegon, mate, he was wanting to give people payment before they even put the invoice in, and Viserys just wanted to play with his train set. Daemon...
No, it's Warhammer, Paul. This Warhammer disrespect is crazy.
No, he's vicious. Aemon is as well, and you take the D from Daemon and put it on the end of Aemon, and yeah, done that before, but it is worth pointing out. This is why Daemon's stream last week showed him wearing an eye patch, and I love how these pieces all fit together perfectly. I also wonder if this ability to lead goes beyond blood and also into knowledge. Aemon now has the cat's paw dagger, and it's possible that he could be aware of what's on it. Last week he picked it up as it lay amongst the burning forest and bodies of Aegon and Sunfire, so there's even the potential that he saw the Song of Ice and Fire, and this may allow him to use it as a power play. It's only passed from king to heir, and thus knowing it while others don't could make him seem more legitimate. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts, as the dagger is such a wild card in the show. Wasn't used in any way like this in the book, and they could use it to create some really interesting dynamics, especially with Daemon. Ewan Mitchell brought up how he played into this rivalry in the show by keeping the coin he found when Blood and Cheese had been in his room.
That coin means that Daemon was this close to getting Aemond, and there's a romantic element for him. He quite likes the fact that Daemon wants to kill him.
Now, this video, we've been talking a lot about civil wars, but what if one was to happen in modern day America? Well, that takes us to one of the best movies of the year, Civil War. From writer and director Alex Garland comes this incredible adrenaline...
Wait a minute. I heard this movie was dog shit.
...fueled thrill ride through a near-future fractured America. Following a team of military-embedded journalists, we watch as they race against time to reach Washington, D.C. before rebel factions...
This an ad read for a shitty movie?
...descend upon the White House. Starring Kirsten Dunst and Wagner Moura, it's an incredible movie and one of my favorite A24 and Lionsgate films. Civil War is now available on 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray, and you should definitely go and pick it up by...
Hell no, Paul. I'm never watching that shit.
...clicking my link in the description. Included on the Blu-ray is also a 6-part documentary titled Torn Asunder, waging Alex Garland's...
So here's my question, and I will actually hit him up about this because I'm kind of interested. Is this an ad, or is he using the new feature? There's a new thing on YouTube. We have it on our channels too. It's like an affiliate link. So does he have an affiliate link to this where he's like getting a piece of these sales?
Civil War. It offers an incredibly detailed look into the making of...
Because he actually did not say it was an ad, and normally you would say that.
This gripping tale. The 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray from A24 and Lionsgate is already out if you're in America, and it drops in the UK today. Make sure you go to my link in the description so you can own this fantastic film, and the highest of recommends for this movie. Go check it out. Anyway, from here we cut to Chris.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think he probably did. Dude, Paul's always on it. He's very, very smart about the game, obviously.
In cold cleaning his sword, and it's like when you work with someone who's an absolute moron and constantly knacks up every single bit of work, and then you get made redundant. Guy's just chilling and sort of polishing his sword and just kind of hoping he doesn't get asked too much. Now they do bring up Sunfire as well, with them basically saying what it says in the book. Also got a nice picture of Rhaenys there, so burned you can't even recognize her body. Yay! The king's dragon Sunfire, too huge and heavy to be moved and unable to fly with his injured wing, remained in the fields beyond Rook's Rest, crawling through the ashes like some great golden worm. In the early days, he fed himself upon the burned carcasses of the slain. When those were gone, the men Sir Criston left behind to guard him brought him calves and sheep. So Sunfire's just walking it off, like, well, he has to walk it off because he can't fly anymore, but it is pretty messed up, and I think it highlights how much the realm was in disarray. The green flag has Sunfire,
but I think they have Sunfire is just dead now, right?
Symbol with a golden beast front and center.
Reading
it's supposed to
tight.
show strength, just like Aegon, but the reality's a far cry from how it is. Alison asks what Aemon's hand in this was, with Criston keeping stum. Obviously he knows it's not good to fracture the kingdom even further, and snitches get stitches and end up in ditches. Now from here we cut across to Rhaenyra at the painted table, with the council mewing over their losses. They're in shambles, Green Council's in shambles, and they've lost both Rook's Rest and Duskendale, the latter of which is what we saw last week with the Harbour Town's capture leading to Lord Darkland's beheading. They also say Daemon's left them high and dry after a marital spat. It goes way beyond that, but there's clear sexism in gaming. I question whether these men question swearing their loyalty to a woman, and I wonder if the houses are going to switch sides throughout. The fact is, though, that none of them have really experienced a war like this because the realm's been at peace.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. There's like a lot of, obviously, like conflict here and like, you know, some like gender stuff that's going on. But I thought Rhaenyra's clapback was good, but she was like, bro, we've all been a part of peace. You've seen no more battles than I have. And that's true. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they went a little heavy-handed with it in this episode, but it is also just the case that, like, I think of it in two ways. I think that perception is reality, and what people perceive to be real is real in its consequences for said person. Right? So, like, even if, technically speaking, a woman leader is just as capable as a male leader when it comes to war, if the perception of male subjects are not that, and they are that you would prefer a man, then it is, in fact, true that a man is preferred. Does that make sense? So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think too much about it. I was like, yeah, I could see how this is happening. Morjat says, what's good, Josh? Is the Diamond Lounge date confirmed this month? Nerd Avengers for life. Yeah, this Friday, brother. We'll go this Friday, 7:30.
Since the ascension of Jaehaerys, Rhaenyra wants to ride to Maidenpool and Crackclaw Point, and these sorts of areas line the Riverlands. On Darkland, he wants revenge for his father's death at Duskendale, and they believe Vhagar's going to be recovering from the battle. Rhaenyra puts herself forward as the person who should be flying in, but they rightly tell her not to risk it. We've seen firsthand with Aegon why leaders shouldn't be put in the line of fire, as the entire war could be lost in an instant. Over with Jace doing his best Blue Valyrian.
Thoughts on the Dr. Disrespect drama? I think what he did was stupid, but the fact that YouTube demonetized his channel for something that didn't happen on their platform is fucked up. Yeah, and I mean, first of all, you're a couple of weeks late on that one. We've had 3 timeline-altering events since then. But I will tell you this, I disagree. I've pretty much flipped on Doc completely, and I find it actually a little fucked up. I'll tell you this, and this people might not like to hear this, but this is what I've kind of come to believe. This guy knew why he got banned. He knew a lot of people wouldn't like it, and he kept it from us for years and got a lot of my money personally because I was supporting something I thought was a true injustice. And yet he knew he was Waldron. He knew that it was going to come out, and he tried to siphon off as much money as he possibly could from his fan base before the inevitable other shoe dropped. So, yeah, I strongly disagree with that take, but that's okay.
Steel, we hear he's flying out to Harrenhal to make Daemon affirm his standing to Rhaenyra. Guy's just off being rogue, and there's lots of suspicions he won't bend the knee to his wife.
This scene was
Flashes.
funny, dude. It was funny to watch Daemon be like, I really can't believe they were that eager to die. That was interesting.
Jace is also
Does that
clearly
indicate that he just doesn't have that same level of honor?
frustrated. He's being forced to stay back, but he needs to look at the bigger picture. He's now carrying the Song of Ice and Fire and is Rhaenyra's next in line. Bringing up the phrase, you might remember Walder Frey from the main series.
Hell yeah,
he
Walder
ended up
Frey
on
was
Arya's
awesome.
list with him being killed in the final
I
season.
mean, obviously a horrible
Jace's
guy, but
mission has
great
been
character.
slightly reordered, as it did happen earlier in the work while he was rallying arms. Initially, he travelled out of these locations, the Vale and then Winterfell, but I do think it was probably better to spread it out. Then on Jacaerys' sword, north across the fingers and the waters of the Bight. He
Jacaerys was awesome in this episode, for sure.
lighted briefly at Sisterton, where Lord Borrell and Lord Sunderland did obedience to him and pledged him the support of the Three Sisters, then flew on to White Harbour, where Lord Desmond Manderley met with him in his Merman's court. Now, they're not specifically outlined here, but yeah, we do know what having these allies ends up leading to, with it all worrying the Greens. Meanwhile, the seeds Jacaerys Velaryon had planted on his flight north had begun to bear fruit, and men were gathering at White Harbour, Winterfell, Barrowtown, Sisterton, Gulltown, and the Gates of the Moon. Should they join their strength at that of the River Lords assembling at Harrenhal with Prince Daemon, even the strong walls of King's Landing might not be able to withstand them, so Criston warned the new Prince Regent. Now he sees gaining favour with the phrase as something...
I liked this little arc for him, man. Going out there, doing some negotiating himself. And also the fact that I'm sure Paul's going to get into this, but the fact that he's the one that comes up with the idea for the dragon seed is really cool. And it feels like something that's taking something that was in the book and making it even better. Because if you think about it, Jace would literally know that because he knows he's a bastard. He knows he's not pure blood of those lines. So he's like, well, if I'm not pure and I can ride a dragon, then maybe, we can extend that to other people. Like, so it's kind of interesting. It's almost, I just like it. It feels like good writing.
That will lead to not only one house joining them, but it'll also allow the Starks to get to March 4th quicker. Them not getting there in time was a fear in the work, with it saying the North was too remote to be much import in the fight, the Council judged. By the time the Starks gathered their banners and marched south, the war might well be over.
Dang.
Now he's basically going behind his mother's back to do it, and he confides in Baela. We haven't really seen much of their relationship in the show, though the pair are betrothed. This bit sort of plays off a bit in the work, in which it talks about her on Dragonstone. Lady Rhaenyra's twin Baela remained on Dragonstone. Long betrothed to Prince Jacaerys, she refused to leave him, insisting that she would fight beside him on her own dragon. The Moondancer was too small to bear her weight. Now, they have changed things for the show, as she has rode on the back of Moondancer, but in the book, it's described as being no bigger than a warhorse. So just a quick little injection there. Now, let's get back to the book. Though Baela also announced her intent to marry Jace at once, no wedding was ever held. Munkin says the prince did not wish to wed until the war was over, while Mushroom claims Jacaerys was already married to Sarah Snow, the mysterious bastard girl from Winterfell. Now, the book had it saying that when he might have married Cregan's bastard sister Sarah, but this has all been omitted from the show. Right. It was all just a rumor anyway, and yeah, I was kind of gutted that they didn't tie it in with Jon Snow. But on we go, across to Daemon, who says something very important that kind of plays his hand.
Bend the knee to me.
Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen constant back and forth over whether he wants to seek the throne for himself. This is something that's haunted his dreams at Harrenhal, and several characters have talked about his desire to lead. So him saying this and not bend the knee to the queen.
So this whole thing with Daemon is wild to me, right? Because he leaves in this sort of like marital fight, and he goes there to like raise the army, but it's super clear just through his actions and the things he's saying that he wants to be thought of as the king. And it kind of, he pretty clearly puts it out there that he wants to raise an army for him, and Rhaenyra can join him in Dragonstone and shit like that, right? But what I don't understand, and the thing that's making the whole thing interesting is, so at what point did either the werewood, the old god, or the witch start to mess with him? Because he's having these visions. He drank her potion. He's slipping between scenes, non-focused, having these weird visions. It's like, what is happening here? It's kind of interesting, and I liked the scene with the lords of the Riverlands, and how they talk about how like the old gods protect them, and like in a moment it felt like them and the old gods are like waving the finger at Daemon, and he's like shook. He's like straight up shook. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool what they're doing.
Queen or Rhaenyra highlights what his true desires are. The work sort of discusses this, along with the bending of the knee by the Brackens. They wear the red horse as their sigil, which should help you identify which characters are which. Either way, this is all building out the aftermath of the opening of episode 3, in which we saw the Battle of the Burning Mill. Many other grievous losses were suffered by both sides in what became known as the Battle of the Burning Mill.
True.
And when the Brackens finally broke and fled back into their lands under the command of Sir Amos's bastard half-brother, Sir Raylan Rivers, it was only to find that Stonehenge had been taken in their absence. Led by Prince Daemon on Caraxes, a strong host made up of Daenerys, Roots, Pipers and Freys had captured the castle by storm in the absence of so much of House Bracken's strength. Lord Humphrey Bracken and his remaining children had been made captive, along with his third wife and baseborn paramour. Rather than see them come to harm, Sir Raylan yielded. With House Bracken thus broken and defeated, the last of King Aegon's supporters in the Riverlands lost their heart and lay down their own swords as well. Now, Harrenhal was also a powerful place to spring forth from, and it gave Daemon a plethora of houses close by to take under his wing. The sudden, bloodless fall of Black Harren's seat was counted as a great victory for Queen Rhaenyra and her Blacks. It served as a sharp reminder of the martial powers of Prince Daemon and the power of Caraxes the Bloodworm, and gave the Queen a stronghold in the heart of Westeros, to which her supporters could rally, and Rhaenyra had many such in the lands watered by the Trident. When Prince Daemon sent forth his call to arms, they rose up all along the rivers, knights and men-at-arms, and humble peasants who yet remembered the realm's delight, so beloved of her father, and the way she smiled and charmed them as she made her progress through the Riverlands in her youth. Hundreds and then thousands buckled on their sword belt and donned their mail, or grabbed a pitchfork or a hoe, and a crude wooden shield, and began to make their way to Harrenhal to fight for Viserys' little girl. Now, they play things a little differently, with them
I was
refusing
gonna
to
say
yield
it's
and
way
bend the knee
different in the
easily.
books
I offer
or in
you
the
a
show.
choice. Bend the knee and join me.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
As we've talked about in other breakdowns, the Brackens and Blackwoods have been enemies
What
for
a legendary episode, though. When they finally unleashed the dragons in that one episode. That shit was dope.
centuries. They're like cats and dogs, bloods and crips, screen crushers as us, and heavy spoilers,
Hell yeah.
and not enemies until the end of time. Still though, Daemon wants the kind of people who would rather burn than turn on their principles, and thus he tasks Willem with trying to sort it out. And at this point, we cut across to the Vale, which is a big location from the main
Yeah, and the veil looked great, man. Super cool. I like these nostalgic, like, establishing shots. Pretty cool.
series. They sort of rework things, as we saw it while Jace was on his missions in the book.
So
but they combined
AVX
the
for
two
Avengers
scenes here.
5, then X-Men reboot before two-part Secret Wars. I don't think that's exactly how it's going to go, but something close to that might be in the works. They might be cooking. Oh, so this is kind of interesting. Check this out. Apparently on Thursday, there's going to be a Deadpool and Wolverine panel at Comic-Con that's like specific to Hall H for the movie. So it'll have all the actors on stage and stuff. So that's kind of fun. That'll happen before it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, as we cut to the location, we also hear
Many and more armies have broken themselves against my bloody gate. The Eyrie itself is impregnable.
Now, this pulls from Jace's first encounter with Lady Jane, with the work saying, "Thrice have my own kin sought to replace me." Lady Jane told Prince Jacaerys, "My cousin Sir Arnold is wont to say that women are too soft to rule. I have him in one of my sky cells if you'd like to ask him. Your Prince Daemon used his first wife most cruelly, it is true. But notwithstanding your mother's poor taste in consorts, she remains our rightful queen, and my own blood besides an Arryn on her mother's side. In this world of men, we women must band together. The Vale and its knights shall stand with her if her grace grants me one request." When the prince asked what that might be, she answered, "Dragons. I have no fear of armies. Many and more have broken themselves against my bloody gate, and the Eyrie is known to be impregnable. But you have descended on us from the sky, as Queen Visenya once did during the conquest, and I was powerless to halt you. I mislike feeling powerless. Send me dragon riders." Now in the book, this set up Rhaena riding out here, and this is why she was sent here in the work. As for Lady Jane, the passage says, "Mushroom tells us that this famous maiden was in truth a highborn harlot with a voracious appetite for men, and gives us
God
a
damn.
salacious tale of how she offered Prince Jacaerys the allegiance of the Vale only if he could bring her to climax with his tongue.
God
Second
damn,
Eustace
freaky
repeats
ass
the
lady.
widespread rumor
She's a fan.
that Lady Jane Eyre preferred the intimate companionship of other women, then goes on to say it was not true. In this instance, we must be grateful for Grand Maester Munkin's true telling, for he alone confines himself to the High Hall of the Eyrie rather than its bedchambers. Now they also say,
You promised the Queen Rhaenyra 15,000 swords.
In return for protection, a dragon.
now this sort of plays on this bit in the book in which they talked about her heading out there
You had the same page open the whole time, Paul. We're on to your ass, bro.
and also the dragon eggs. Even more grave were the tidings from the Vale, where Lady Jane Eyre had assembled 1,500 knights and 8,000 men-at-arms, and sent envoys to the Braavosi to arrange for ships to bring them down upon King's Landing. With them would come a dragon. Lady Rhaenyra of House Targaryen, brave Baela's twin sister, had brought a dragon egg with her to the Vale, an egg that had proved fertile, bringing forth a pale pink hatchling with black horns and a crest. Rhaena named her Morning. Now,
Oh,
we learn these
shit.
eggs haven't hatched, and know that some won't in the series. Now, there is some back and
Oh,
forth at the moment,
shit.
as the director said that these were Dany's eggs. I was over the moon, mate, because I called it, but then the showrunners walked back the comments. I feel like they don't really have a plan either way, and we're just doing this perhaps as a visual reference. The director clearly intended it, but the showrunners are obviously who's in charge. So yeah, let me know below what you think, but I still stand with the idea that we'll see the creation of Dany's eggs at some point. Now the pair kind of bicker back and forth because they haven't hatched, and yeah, it's sort of like when you order dragons from Wish. I also feel like this
Who
is
the
where
fuck
Rhaena
orders
learns of her
dragons from
grandmother's
Wish?
death, and it's sort of played like she's blindsided her to give her a bit of a gut punch. Back on Dragonstone, we then see Myzara.
There are literally episodes about paragraphs, Josh. What you mean? Hey, Mojat! Thanks for gifting a membership, baby!
And Rhaenyra discussing war and how restricted she is by being a woman. Taught academically, Rhaenyra has always been against this. It all ties back to her ripping a page out the Maester's book in season 1, and she's always done things differently. This too is mirrored in Mysaria, who's gone from a slave to the master of whisperers. The scar around her neck.
You know, I did like the fact that, you know, Rhaenyra, even though she's resistant to the predicament, does understand that, like, it's true. You know, like, her father never prepared her for war. She has no concept of how to even hold that weapon. And that might have been an L. And I was like, yeah, probably.
Neck highlights the collar she used to wear, and she's been through a lot. She knows that there's more than one way to fight a war, and we also see one of her servants get dismissed. This is Alinda Massey, who's a character that's appeared throughout the series. She was the one who told Rhaenyra Alicent had requested her appearance right after she'd just given birth. She
Yeah,
also
that was a
helped in the
crazy
birth of
scene. Remember that shit? That was kind of interesting.
Visenya, and has been a handmaid of the Queen for a very long time. In the books, House Massey is extremely loyal to both the Targaryens and Valyrians, as their home of the Massey Hook is in the middle of both Dragonstone and Driftmark. We'll talk about how this character plays in his stuff later on, but they get sent out directly to King's Landing. Now we also have the pair looking at the skull of Meraxes, which juxtaposes the head of the dragon earlier. There it was paraded through the streets, whereas here it's respected as a monument.
True.
Meraxes was shot through the eye by a scorpion, which caused her to plummet to the
shit.
ground. This also killed her rider Rhaenys, so it's symbolic of our Rhaenys' death as well.
Oh, no.
Anyway, with Baela, we see her going out to Rhaenyra, with the latter holding a box, which is later revealed to hold the hand of the Queen Pin. This
Yeah.
gets passed around from her to Baela to Corlys, and this happens during scenes in which they all remember Rhaenys. Now here we hear the tale of how Rhaenys claimed Meraxes. This happened in 87 AC, with it belonging to Alyssa Targaryen. During this time, she was called the Queen-to-be, but as we know, this was taken away from her. Rhaenyra passes the box over and says she doesn't wish to stand alone, and it's
Blinker
clear she's
City
worried
event
about those
starting
around her
now,
being
okay.
loyal. So probably not a good time for Daemon to be dreaming of sleeping with his mother.
Yeah, dude, that shit was so weird.
This is Alyssa Targaryen, and yeah, she tells him he was made to wear the crown over his brother, which is obviously playing on his inner desires. Now, we don't know too much of the ins and outs of their relationship, as the work doesn't go too far into detail. However, we do know that within 2 weeks of Daemon being born, that Alyssa took Daemon
Griff, appreciate you, brother. Says 4 months away from 3 years. Goddamn, Nerd Avengers for life. By the way, Josh, did you know that Lady Jane Arwen is mother from Raised by Wolves? What? No way, really? I did not know that. I love Raised by Wolves, though. Interesting.
Flying out on Maylis. Sadly, the next child she had proved to be a long and difficult labor, with her giving birth to a boy named Aegon. She died not long after this, and Aegon died shortly after that. This is why we hear how Daemon didn't know her, and it's sort of him wanting everything he never had. However, that blood is still on his hands, which is something that we saw last week. As he woke up, he had blood on one side, but when he flipped this round, it completely disappeared. Last time we talked about how this could be a biblical reference or even a direct nod to Macbeth. Either way, it's once more
Raised by Wolves, man. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I don't even know where you can watch it. Is it still on HBO Max? Oh, so good.
Him wandering in and out of fantasies, and he looks suspiciously at his cup. Alice Rivers is pouring drinks in the background, and it's a drink that last week put him into a fantasy. Either way, they want to create a great host for the Brackens, but we see as they just show up in the middle of the night later on. The plan pushes them further away, but I do think we'll see more next week of that chapter from before. Now, Simon brings up how difficult it's going to be paying all the workers and men-at-arms that they want, as he says that Larys moved the gold to King's Landing. This is something that was touched upon after Daemon took Harrenhal, with Larys saying it's why the location didn't matter. Simon asks if he can ask the Queen for some money, and he calls him an emissary. Daemon's obviously, not able to do it himself, and he tackles them over the title King Consort, which further plays into his ambition. Now, we actually saw something similar recently with Camilla, who was initially supposed to be labeled Queen Consort. However, they changed this upon Charles's coronation, so now she uses the simpler title as Queen. If Charles dies, it's said she'll become
give it to the Brit to pay attention to that shit. We don't care.
Dowager Queen, which is also a term that they use in the show with Alicent. Now, speaking of Alicent, we cut to her at the council, and she gets a lot of focus in this scene. Breathing heavily.
Yeah, this shit was so... I mean, and again, like, I'm not trying to be mean or whatever, but this is like the OnlyFans thing. Like, you gotta understand. Like, they're not comparable. And I think in this scene, Alicent is like, yo, I gave this guy my feet to jerk off to. I've been banging out this dude. They better get my back in this situation. And they were like, no. And you gotta understand that that is a real thing. Being an object or objectifies and does not mean that you are respected beyond that. And in fact, kind of hurts your case. And I did feel for her. I mean, that's why the show is so good, right? Yeah, Alicent is stupid as fuck. But I still felt bad. You know what I mean? Like, I still felt bad, and I was like, damn, like, they're just all gonna hang her out to dry. She did all this shit for them. And it just does not matter.
She learns of what happened to Aegon. This is also the reaction she gives when learning she's being passed over for Aemond. In real time, she witnesses something that Rhaenys and Rhaenyra have known about this world for a long time.
Men would sooner put the realm to the torch than see a woman ascend the Iron Throne.
I was staring at her fingernails here to see if she'd picked away at them further, but obviously her struggles are shown to us here and trying to seem dignified. Alicent has really made her bed, and we see as everyone goes for Aemond over her. Larys, mate, she sent your feet pics. Kristen, bloody hell, and she's seen what the men at the council truly think of her.
Yep.
She's by far the most experienced when it comes to ruling the realm.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother layer to it, JL, is the fact that she knows her son is a monster. So it's like really crazy, dude. And I love how they like suck out the sound as Aemond starts speaking. And just because it doesn't matter. He's drowning out. It's like the suffocating reality of like him being in control. Crazy. And especially because Kristen Cole knows who he is. They talk about that later on. That's even crazier because Sir Kristen saw it. You know what I mean? I think she just has regrets all around. Of course. She's also very stupid and she has fucked up a lot. But yeah, no, of course. I mean, she's very affected by this. And, to be fair to Alicent, I mean, she gets whored out by her father for political gain when she's very young. So, like, she doesn't actually have a model for how to actually, like, cope or think of these things. I mean, Alicent has basically been a toy and a pawn her entire life. She continues to be one right here. Maybe now she's kind of realizing it.
And Aemon's a hothead who gave his brother a hot head. Ugh. It's because of him that the war escalated so quickly, but it's all about the optics of letting a woman rule. Sadly, this is what Alicent weaponized in the first place so that this council would support Aegon over Rhaenyra. Obviously, they haven't changed, and this entire strategy to gain power for herself has now shoved her out of it. Now, as we focus on her, we can hear them discussing the standings in the River.
Yeah, Otto's great. I hope we get more of him in the show.
Grover Tully is once more touched upon with us meeting his grandson last week. Him and his fate helped to change the dynamics of the war, and I'm sure it's something we'll see play out later in the series. It's difficult to focus on it though, as we're drawn into Alicent, and yeah, Olivia Cook does so much by doing so little. Aemon's first official order is to cut down the rat catchers in a... You're gonna make me cry seeing
Hey, Bowman's Forge, hit me up, man. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm not gonna say no to a sword.
I'll talk again. It's just sad seeing him go after the car, loyally following his master.
Yeah, it was sad.
It's kind of like that story of the dog who entered the train station every day, waiting for his dead master to return and disembark the train. Really sad, and I feel like it's put here to juxtapose the disloyalty of Kristen. Confronted by Alicent, she questions whether he's only loyal at night, and talks about how they know what Aemon's become. Honestly, though, I feel like Kristen's kind of doing what he can to protect her. He's clearly horrified by what he saw at Rook's Rest, and to me, he cast her to the side to spare her from the horrors about to be unleashed. She shuts him down, though.
Yeah, and that was cool. That was cool. Are you going to have a sword fight? I don't know. I guess I could challenge somebody. You know? Challenge somebody to a duel.
One of the coldest things I've ever heard.
I did not give you leave to speak my name.
Bloody hell, mate. Bloody formal dumping that.
Yeah, but also that's like her just kind of reaching for something, you know, some kind of control. Yeah, like it was cold, but it also, in some ways, with her even saying that, I was just like, damn, girl, like, I guess if that's what you got to do to feel like you got a little bit of control, you know?
Now, in to go with these scenes, we get some hammer time, and
hammer
a lot of
time.
These scenes have allowed us to see the perspective of the small folk. His wife went to the parading of Jaehaerys, and she did this while her own child was sick in bed.
You want to sword fight me,
those
Moose?
in the kingdom are willing to put the Targaryens on a pedestal.
You know, we could do that, but it's gonna be like Gladiator. You know, we're gonna have to like wound you before it starts because you can't beat Caesar. You know what I'm saying?
They ruin their lives, and they've got the same problems at home. We will talk about Hugh in the spoiler section, but I like how they're beginning to question.
Ooh, a Deadline article about Feige talking about SDCC. It just dropped. Oh shit! Can you link me? Tag me on Twitter or something. Somebody tag me with that article, please. Apparently it was from Deadline. Oh.
What's happened. We also hear how neighbors are stealing from other neighbors, which thematically ties into the idea of a civil war. She's seen the light, though, and wants to...
I am confident. Of course. What sword do you want? I mean, I don't really know too much about swords, brother. Probably just one that looks real cool. Oh, if you can make me one that looks like a Warhammer power sword, that would be sick. You know, I also like katanas, but I know that's like a Japanese thing, so.
Leave King's Landing before the war gets too heated. Unfortunately, everyone's had the same idea, and
give him the blackest steel there is. Hell yeah. I'll take some black steel.
They cry out for meat, with this also being what Hugh said the dragon's head was earlier.
I'll pull out the black steel when I gotta regulate, you know what I mean? Doop, 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 doo, doo, doo.
But at this point, we cross over to the Twins, which is another location you might recognize from the main series. This is where Rob tried to cross, and the events of the Red Wedding went down at.
Who doesn't like katanas? That's true. Katanas are lit. Hey, I got no dibs on the sword making. I made this 40k chainsword, by the way. Hey, no, I got dibs. I mean, I could get both swords. We could have your sword and his sword, and I could sword fight myself or something. Also, you guys don't gotta make me swords. That's probably like expensive and shit. Hey, thanks, Larson. Appreciate you, bro.
The Twins are one of the most important.
We'll go over that in just a second. Let's do like 5-10 more minutes of this video. We're rounding the bend here. I like this video, but dude, going to the text does make this super long. You know what I mean?
locations in Westeros, with it being the only crossing point at the Green Fork. Armies and riders would have
Hell
to travel
yeah.
hundreds of miles in either direction in order to find another place to pass through. Now, it's lying on the route from Winterfell to River Run, and it sees all manners of merchants and traders. The phrase originally...
Or you could do the Rebel Moon Sword and have the sword melted into your hands. Well, I already have the horrible movies themselves burned into my brain. Isn't that enough?
Simply set up the location by building a wooden bridge between the 2 points. Here they ran tolls and charged people to pass, which netted them...
Ooh, I could knight the different members with the sword. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Maybe make like a Tony Stark looking sword. Oh, hell
fortune
yeah.
over the years. At this point in time, the twins have been here for roughly 500 years, with them being a monument to the wealth the Freys have amassed. Charging so much has meant they can upgrade it to this giant stone bridge that's also got these impenetrable archways.
Yeah,
now,
dude.
They
Slow
once more
motion.
mentioned Tully, with him still not casting his allegiance. They also talk about how they...
Everyone is clearly engaged with the breakdown. I know. Just give me 5 minutes, guys. Can we just give Paul 5 more minutes?
fear Vhagar, and we know from the work that he terrorized the Riverlands, including the phrase, Prince Aemond had become the terror of the Trident, descending from the sky to rain fire and death upon the Riverlands, then vanishing, only to strike again the next day 50 leagues away. Vhagar's flames reduced
Deep dive on
Overall and White Willow
Acolyte?
to ash,
Oh,
and
man.
Hall to blackened stone. And that's pretty much what I'm worried about,
Acolyte.
and Jace offers his protection along with his uncles. While pouting,
Yeah, Paul lost some. I think he's doing a lot of running.
Hall is negotiated too, with Jace requiring a bending of the
Running,
knee to seal it.
running,
These
running,
negotiations
running,
are kind of all
running,
over the place, with the
running,
houses
running,
constantly
running,
promising stuff. It was Luke who refused to promise a betrothal, and we saw what happened to him. However, broken deals would of course prove a lot of characters' downfalls, again with the Freys and Starks being a big one from the main series. Cutting to Harrenhal, we see they're rebuilding the rooms which were caused by Aegon the Conqueror. Haunted by screams, Daemon ends up speaking with Alice River.
I really don't understand this scene either. Like, what kind of crazy witchcraft does she have going on with this dude?
Who sees a cut on his hand.
You
This
know what I
further
mean?
creates the blood effect, whilst Alice tells some of the crimes against humanity that the Targaryens are carrying out. Alice is really trying to hammer home
And he's literally like, bitch, I do not care, which is fine. But why is he then engaging with her at all? Why is he drinking the Kool-Aid?
on the evil he's committing, and this blood in his hand.
Oh my God. This is Ramsay Bolton. This lady looks like fucking Ramsay Bolton, and now I can't unsee it. Oh my God.
Is gonna keep haunting him. Daemon also brings up Aemon and what will happen if
Wow.
Alice comes across him. We will talk about this later on, but they're laying the seeds for something down the line. Daemon also brings
I
up
mean, I
the
guess it was hard for him to get work after the role, so, you know.
reality that people won't support
Caitlin
Rhaenyra and
Clark?
that he'll need to step up.
Ah,
We've seen it
shit!
firsthand with Alicent, and I love how there's these fractures within both sides. Aegon fired Otto, his mother's been
Is
ousted,
Caitlin Clark
and
Ramsay?
Aemon was willing
No,
to slay his
Caitlin Clark
brother.
is just
War is
somebody
an
trying to
ugly
do her
thing,
best.
And Daemon isn't even that loyal to his wife. Alice taunts him by saying it's
Look
a
at that.
pity
It's fucking Ramsay, dude.
he never knew his mother, and judging by that dream, mate, probably best you didn't. Aside,
Yeah, I know, right? But doesn't that imply, Paul, that she might be creating the vision of the mother? Like, come on, man, Paul, what are we doing here? Put the goddamn book down.
and then comes in and talks about how the Brackens have been overwhelmed and they've pledged themselves to Daemon. Over with Corlys, we then see as they discuss Rhaenys. Now in the work, we hear about how badly Corlys takes his wife's death, and he lashed out at Rhaenyra. East of Blackwater Bay, Queen Rhaenyra was also faring badly. The death of her son Lucerys had been a crushing blow to a woman already broken by pregnancy, labor, and stillbirth. When word reached Dragonstone that
It's the
Princess
same passage, Paul. We see the book. It's all...
Rhaenys had fallen, angry words were exchanged between the Queen and Lord Velaryon, who blamed her for his wife's death. "It should have been you," the sea snake shouted at her grace. "Staunton sent to you, yet you left it to my wife to answer and forbade your sons to join her. For all the castle knew that the princes Jace and Joff had been eager to fly with Princess Rhaenys to Rook's Rest with their own dragons. Here, though, we see a side to him where he's at a loss without her. He wants to sail into the west and be lost, which Baelor berates him for. This is where he went to in the wake of Laenor's death, and I wonder if it's going to come back around with him returning in the show. In the book, the character died,
I think so,
but we
yeah.
know from the series that he is still out there. Now, Baelor wants to honor Rhaenys and her sacrifice by making sure that her goals are carried out. Rhaenys never got to see a woman ascend to the throne, and she was of course passed over. Baelor wants to make sure her death wasn't for nothing, and Corlys offers to make her the heir in the end. She turns this down, but it shows how much the character's grown. In the past, he only cared about names, which is why he put those strong boys as his heirs. He was well aware they weren't his, but as he said, history remembers names. In this world, women don't carry on the names, and thus in getting married, they end up losing it. So him putting this power on her shows how much he's changed and how he actually cares about blood more than names. Now with Rhaenyra, we see she sends Sir Alfred to Harrenhal. He does
this scene was cool. I like this scene. All right, guys, we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna read this very fresh article. But yeah, pretty good breakdown. I got a little lost in the sauce, man. I'm gonna be honest. I think we got to go back to me just doing the funny breakdown of my own kind of version and shit, because well, it'll be a lot quicker. Okay. Let's pull this article up and let's read this together. Boom. Bam, boom, boom, bam, baby. Let's do it like this. 5 questions with Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige. Deadpool and Wolverine superhero pick Renaissance Hall H Comic-Con panel planned with Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and more. Exclusive. Not only is it a week and a half to the kickoff of San Diego Comic-Con on July 24th, but the fanboy confab coincides. The hell, just use regular words. With another major pivotal moment this summer, the massive opening of Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine, which is poised to be the biggest R-rated debut of all time at the domestic box office, beating Deadpool's 132 blah blah blah. The Sean Levy-directed feature reps a new era for the Disney's MCU with edgier adult fare, and finally brings together 20th Century Fox Marvel stable with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not often that an MCU movie opens up on the same weekend as San Diego Comic-Con, and a galactic boom is about to ensue. Marvel Studios president and producer Kevin Feige tells Deadline first about what's in store at Comic-Con. Read, fanboys will get 2 nights of MCU and Hall H next week, as well as the comeback of superhero picks. Okay, let's get it. Let's get into it. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. Can you share with us any plans for Hall H? Yes, I can. I think people know we're going to be there on Saturday for our traditional Hall H panel with a lot of fun stuff to look at about our upcoming movies. You see what I mean, guys? Like I told y'all, it's movies, bro. But what I don't think people know is that we're also going to be in Hall H on Thursday for the first time ever. Marvel Studios is going to be in Hall H twice during Comic-Con. Thursday, of course, is the opening of Deadpool and Wolverine. So we're going to be doing a fun Deadpool panel in Hall H to commemorate the opening with Sean, Hugh, and Ryan. And I will be there. Now, that's awesome. It doesn't change too much for us. We will still have our Friday morning stream, which will be spoiler filled. We're probably mostly going to talk about the movie, the crazy cameos, a lot of fun stuff like that. But if anything crazy comes out of this panel, we will also touch on that. With Deadpool and Wolverine, is this the beginning of an edgier era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I think we've been edgy in the past. No, you haven't. But my favorite thing is that we span all types of genres and tones. I think it gets a lot of attention, and this is our first R-rated movie. But it is the third R-rated Deadpool movie. So we wanted to stay true to what Ryan has built over those last couple of movies, and we weren't going to undo that. I will say, Hugh and Ryan have talked about this, and I think people can tell from the trailer and from the press tour so far, yes, it's R-rated. Yes, there's some language and blood, but the film is incredibly emotional. I keep calling it the most wholesome R-rated film that anybody can ever see. It really is a celebration of friendship and family, and of found family, like Rey Skywalker. He didn't really say that. I don't want to overdo it, but for all the R-rated raunchiness that gets attention, when people see the movie, it's going to be about how heartfelt it is. In my opinion, much more than the first two Deadpool films. That's what I'm really excited about. Once people get the F words and the R rating, to see how sweet it is. Okay. There's a lot of news about how big Deadpool and Wolverine is going to open at the box office. This is clearly a renaissance for superhero movies of late. What's needed to keep this fever or fervor, maybe it's fervor up? I ask this in general of superhero movies. What's needed to keep moviegoers re-engaged and back on a high point? Okay, this, great question. I'm really interested to see what he says here. I've never been a big believer in the superhero being a genre in and of itself. We made films that are based in graphic narrative format originally, but wait, what? Just say comics, dude. What the fuck? But we make different types of movies, and I think the answer to that question is the same answer to movies in general. Making engaging, entertaining films that have to be experienced in a theater with a crowd and is worth people getting into their cars and making the trip. Of the many forms of entertainment that people can get scrolling on their screen in their pocket, we as Hollywood industry need to make a product that stands above all of that and represents destination entertainment that you can't get anywhere else. So, the fact that people have been going to the movies this summer with Inside Out 2, that is an unbelievably exciting for us, as it reminds people what a joy that can be going to theaters, and people seem very excited to see Deadpool and Wolverine on screen. I think the experience that it's going to give people, and hopefully encourage people to go see it again and again, that's our job. That's our job at Marvel, and it's our job as the 100-year-old Hollywood industry to remind people that we have the best storytellers and can provide the best entertainment in the world. Wow, really don't agree with that. As we keep doing that in ways that engage, excite, and grab onto the imagination, the psyche of the audience, that's all we've ever wanted to do. That's all we tried to do, and I think we have to keep evolving and expanding the ways we do that. Pretty political answer there, not really telling, unfortunately. Going back to the first Iron Man, he wasn't an A Marvel character. He was a B character, maybe even C. He had the flame that started it all. And then you move to Guardians of the Galaxy. You know this universe more than anybody, but launching characters with unknown IP, is that harder now, or is it a different economy of scale? Could you pull off another Iron Man and Guardians of the Galaxy in this day and age? Okay. Again, really interesting question. Let's see what the answer is, because this is kind of a direct response to, I think, what a lot of fans have been saying. Yes, when we wrong answer, by the way. When we were going to Comic-Con in 2007, when we were bringing Iron Man with Jon Favreau, one media outlet did a story that read, "Marvel calls out the C Team." People thought, well, are you going to be able to make anything of these characters that aren't the major players if you don't have Spider-Man or the X-Men? People thought Marvel had nothing else. And we thought, we have 8,567 other things. The audience wants to see a great piece of entertainment. I said for a long time that the 1-2 punch for Marvel predated me was Blade and the X-Men. Blade was a character that nobody knew from the comics, or very few people knew. It wasn't advertised as being a Marvel Comics. X-Men was the #1 best-selling comic of the last 15 years before the movie came out. Both of them did extremely well, and that instilled in us the notion that it is less about how many issues did you sell or how famous was the animated show or the live action series in the 70s, but how engaging can you make the character? And how much of a new experience of a world can you bring to cinemas with that character? And that's what we try to do with Iron Man, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy. Wow, another terrible answer from Kevin. Let's keep going. Can you tell us more about Marvel's plans at San Diego Comic-Con? I understand that there's a new booth, but also can you speak to the importance of San Diego Comic-Con to a motion picture studio? It's surprising when some studios decide to skip it. That's a missed opportunity. But San Diego Comic-Con is still a great place to sound the bullhorn for a project in the current social media, particularly at a time when consumers are fiercely making decisions about the content. For Marvel, it's important on all aspects, but it's important for publishing and for the roots of everything you're doing. You're right. We have a whole brand new booth this year that we spent a long time designing and trying to make as impressive as possible and diverse as possible with the amount of events going on in that booth. Many and most of which relate to the comics and to the artists and to the storylines that we've made. Okay, so I'm liking this. And of course, tapping into the games and the movies. The entirety of Comic-Con started out in the comics. And I love seeing the amount of stuff that CB Sobolski, our editor on the publishing side, is doing each and every year. That's why I had Dan Buckley go over his head to reboot the X-Men. On the movie side, which I'm emotionally, of course, connected to, that's where everything started for us. I remember showing clips of the X-Men 2 for the first time at Hall H, existing in San Diego Comic-Con, and Sam Raimi with Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3. And of course, our Iron Man panel with Favreau and Downey. We built a movie schedule oftentimes, and obviously, with the pandemic and the strike that threw a wrench into everything for a few years, oh no, they're just going to blame the pandy and the writer's strike for everything? Wow. But what we're able to do this time is to get back to literally designing our film schedule around what we would have ready to show at Comic-Con. I've told you guys this before. He literally plans the scheduling to have stuff available at Comic-Con, to announce and set expectations and the tonality of what's to come over the next couple of years. And that starts in Hall H. I think Hall H has become such an iconic venue that people who've never been to Comic-Con know what Hall H is, or know that Hall H stands for unveiling of important, fun pop culture moments. Aw, man. He didn't say shit. Dude, I'm sorry. Like, I love Kevin Feige. I love Marvel Studios, but goddamn is this dude good at waffling. He just said a whole bunch of nothing, dude. This is a whole article of 5 incredible questions and 5 completely ambiguous answers. Oh my God. That was kind of a waste of time. Holy shit, we didn't learn anything. I mean, I don't blame you, Larson, but what? That's the... What the hell? Yeah, he didn't say nothing, huh? Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, 'tis what it is, I guess. Okay. All right, chat. I'm probably going to get on out of here soon. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we get on out of here? Anything else? Any other questions, comments, concerns before we get on out of here? Are we watching the Marvel podcast right now? I know, it kind of sounds like it. Hey, by the way, I did actually start watching Kaiju number 8, and it's pretty fun. Oh, John Jones? Yeah, he's a scumbag. DC was always right about John Jones. Not a good dude. And I mean, on the one hand, you could always say like somebody that beats up their wife, probably not a good dude, but it just goes on and on with John. Incredible fighter. Not a good person. We stopped the episode breakdown to read this article. I know. I did catch up on Demon Slayer, actually. I finished this season of Demon Slayer. It was cool. I actually really liked it. What happened with Jones? I think he's facing 2 misdemeanor charges or something in the confrontation with the guy from USADA. So it basically, yeah. And look, here's the thing. Even if that whole situation is being blown out of proportion and it's not true, John Jones still not a good human being. That's just facts, man. That's not a good dude. Great fighter, though. Incredible at fighting. But not a good guy, unfortunately. We should have finished having spoilers. I know. Trilogy of movies announced for Demon Slayer. Is it a trilogy of movies or is it just 2? I thought it was just 2. Are you serious? Are you serious? Trilogy, huh? Okay. Where to watch Demon Slayer? Watch Jeremy John's Hot D review. It's like 5 minutes long. Maybe we'll do that in the future. Maybe we'll do that shit in the future. Deadpool, Wolverine, Hot Toys. I saw those. I mean, they look good, bro. I'm not going to lie. Hey, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Hey, chat, one last thing before we get out of here. So apparently, they are making the Nicolas Cage Spider-Man Noir, right? Which, like, dude, I'm excited about that. Like, it's really high on my list. But apparently, they're making this dude Ben Reilly. Did you guys see this? So they're not going to call him Peter Parker, and he's Ben Reilly? I don't know about that. Like, how does that make sense? I'm Nick fucking Cage. Dude, I love that movie, bro. What's that from? You gotta watch the movie with him and Pedro Pascal. I think it's called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's brilliant. Another Spider-Man. Guys, do you not understand why this is confusing? So Ben Reilly is a clone of Peter Parker. So, like, if they're going to name Nick Cage in Spider-Noir Ben Reilly, then, like, I'm going to ask, the fuck? Like, is he a clone? Are they going to explain that? Or, like, no, they just didn't want to name him Peter. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if he's a clone or something, like, hell yeah, that would be awesome. Do the, like, in a, because it's in the 1930s, but maybe there was a Peter Parker, and maybe he died, and maybe this guy's now taken over, and he's a clone. That could be interesting. Yeah, that could be cool, huh? That could be real chill. Yeah. He's just a clone sent back in time. My clones! Would you be mad if they didn't reveal he was a clone until future movies? I don't know that I would be mad. I would be a little confused. I mean, I'm literally confused right now. Just from the scoop. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But I don't know if I'm mad about it. I'm just confused. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Bro, I want to get Spider-Man 4 at Comic-Con. Yeah, that'll be sick. I don't know if it's going to happen. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, huh? Doesn't really make sense to me. But what do I know? Hangover cure? Let me hear it. Well, a lot of water, man. Gotta drink a lot of water. Have you ever watched Dark Matter? Multiverse Insanity. Yeah, I love that show. Let me tell you a little bit of story about that, okay? So I love that show. The show's fantastic. I started yapping about it on Twitter. Paul from Heavy Spoilers sees it, and he's like, well, Josh has incredible taste, so I'll check it out. And then Paul gets all this credit for talking about it? The fuck? I'm the one that started talking about it. Even one of the actors from the show hit him up on Instagram, and he didn't say, well, actually, this is because of Den of Nerds. Den of Nerds is the GOAT, actually. Like, all the biggest YouTubers steal from Den of Nerds because he's so brilliant. You know, like, god damn it. Hey, Mojet! Thanks for gifting a membership, baby. Appreciate it. When you were driving, your phone wasn't working, you could have used the map. You could have used the map, and maybe it's just a map. You ever think about that? I'm the one that brought it up in Discord. Nah, it was me. The bromance you and Paul have is adorable. Oh, thanks. So imagine if, like, they made a Disney Plus show based on me and Paul, right? And, like, the whole idea was, like, yeah, like, the bromance is funny and all that shit. And then they made Paul just depressed and have to go to therapy the whole time. And then I was like, I don't want to be a big YouTuber. And I got all mad about it. That's what Falcon and the Winter Soldier was. Chat should get the credit for that one. For what one? I don't even remember. Lies, bro? What lies? I already forgot. Elijah says, hear me out. I thought of this cool IP where there's heroes and villains, laser swords in space, and spaceship fights. I got this sick name for it. I call it Star Wars. What do you think? Sounds lame. Sounds lame. Probably won't work. And even if it does, sounds like Kathy Kennedy will take control of it and turn it into a stinky fart. So, you know. Yeah, I would say it needs some lesbian space witches. Kiadi Mundi. But let's retcon his birthday. Yeah, there's a couple things I would do. Couple things I might do with that, you know. Sounds kind of promising, though. Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of the stream. Pretty chill one, you know. Just talking about some Marvel stuff. Like right now, guys, that's just what it is. Like the state right now is like trying to figure out what's happening, trying to figure out where we're going. A lot of anticipation. And I'm pretty excited. So, yeah, I'll let you guys know. I want to do something on Twitch tomorrow. I'm just not sure what, and I'm not sure what time. And other than that, video today, video tomorrow. We'll be back at it Wednesday. We'll talk about the Crapolite, and maybe some other stuff. Wednesday night, we got another members-only stream. Friday night, we've got a Diamond Lounge, and I'm going to talk about presidents and propagandas and how we should all vote for ourselves and the Anunnaki and all that kind of stuff. So come on by for that Friday. And then next week we got Deadpool, we got San Diego Comic-Con, baby. You said the following week for Madam Web. That's true. We could think about that. Let's talk about it as a family, okay? Let's get in the middle of the living room, pass around the talking stick, and we'll figure it out, okay? Oh, yeah, the UFOs as well. Hell yeah. Okay, guys, please, guys and girls, please, enjoy the rest of your day. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. What the fuck was that Kevin Feige interview? That shit was bullshit. Kevin, you're better than that. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? You know, the world just keeps on getting crazier. But I want you to know, inside these four walls, you're safe. Inside these four walls, we drop the aggression and come together in our true love of shitting on Kathleen Kennedy. It's incredible how much we've come together. Because she is just so fucking bad. And, of course, all the other stuff. Marvel! We're going to turn it around. The tide is turning. The temperature's rising. Next Saturday, the game changes. Hell yeah. Make sure you open up your third eye and you wash out your butt. Hell. I'll see you later.